Oh my goodness.
Ooh,
Wow.
he might
Wow.
call. Oh, he
Wow.
folded.
Welcome everyone. We are here for another GG Millions. It is the last day of the year. Happy New Year to everyone. We've got the man, the myth, Mike Sowers. I've known forever in poker since the very beginning that I started playing. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Looking forward to this final table. It's been a little hiatus for me from poker. It's probably the main event of GGG was my last event. I kind of play 2-3 months, then take little breaks. So I'm excited to watch these. These guys are all really good. Especially, I've got a few pegged. Juan, Alex, probably the two most established guys at the final table, and just kind of looking forward to seeing what they got and talking about what we would do.
I love it. Well, listen, I'll tell you what. We have been playing. We battled for a long time online. Those that might not know Mike, he is one of the all-time crushers online. He's been around for a long time, as he just mentioned, not playing quite as much, kind of comes in and out. I think that's a more enjoyable way to do it, right? You get to, when you play, you really, really like it, you feel it, and you're immersed in it. So we're going to be covering a lot today. You can see the resume there, over 3.8 million in earnings, 700K biggest cash, some very impressive stuff, but also was online dominant centric. I would say you played the majority of your stuff too online back in the day. So we'll talk more about Mike and what he has to offer us. With, we'll be leaning on him on analysis today, but let's go ahead and look at last week's winner, the man who is the number one all-time on GG Millions by a lot. He has 11 titles now. You can see the stat line is just absurd. We're talking 10K buy-in. This is the Champions League of Poker. He has the most wins, the most FTs. He's in the money 39% of the time, 82 cashes, kind of unbelievable. 41 million in earnings for a would be an insane career. That's just on GG. That's not live. That's not any other site that may exist. You can see actually 9 million almost of those are coming from GG Million. So all right,
What's
pretty
that, 4
pretty
years?
impressive.
GG's been around 4 years now, or?
Well, technically longer, but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I think 2014 or 15, actually, like when it maybe the company came around. I don't know the specifics on, definitely has escalated quickly in terms of popularity. And GG Millions, though, I don't think it's been around for definitely not that long. You can see 209 appearances. That means 4 years of playing the tournament. That is 4 years of entering on Sunday worth alone, and that alone. But let's go see how he did it. 25 big blinds he had last week to start, and he came from kind of the back of the pack, and then here he is with pocket nines, heads up against Benjamin Rowley's been on the show multiple times, the Raise Your Edge founder and friend of mine, who he was actually, I think, chip leader and then was all in 8 left to flipping and won, and then came back and was at risk there, and he game for a ultimately second place. And you can see pretty fair fight. 9 to ace king, those are monster hands, heads up. And of course, if you're the all-time winner in GG Millions, you probably do well in big flips, and that is another one of those. So that was for a lot of the chips, a big important one. That was quick too. I think I was like queuing the giveaway. It was a few minutes in, and I was looked up, and it was the cards were all in, and that was what we saw was it ending very quickly, and the Greg goes all in, waving the GG flag there as that was that. So Artur Martirosian, so impressive live and online, and again holding himself as he closed out the year in December with another mega win on the GG Millions. But this week we've got some familiar faces, also some unknowns. We have got a Juan Pardo Dominguez you may be familiar with, 4 titles, also very impressive, off 53 cashes, and 28 of those being final tables, which is actually, it is very impressive stats as well. 7.5 million. How familiar are you with Juan?
I know Juan. I mean, he looked pretty familiar. I don't think I've actually played with him. A lot of these guys are, young and up and comers. It's pretty much a young man sport. I mean, all these guys, they study so hard. Their fundamentals are probably just leaps and bounds where we were, when we were coming up through the ranks. And so that's why it's imperative. You got to get into GTO Wizard. You got to keep solving. I lean on a lot of my close friends for stuff like that, like Shannon Shore is really always studying. Seth, I see him at the gym. He's working as hard as anyone and always studying. So, I look familiar, and he's got 13 million in Hidden Mob. That's not even counting GG. So this guy's an absolute crusher.
Yeah, we'll see if he can close out the year here with a win and add to that impressive resume. Some other really tough players here today and some unknowns too. So let's go ahead and get in and look at what we are playing with as a 1.5 million prize pool, 317 to first. Everyone guaranteed 45,000. You can see the laddered payout, there, all the way up there, almost $250,000 for second, and a big heads-up match will be ensuing. So let's go ahead and see the 9 players today. This is the player who actually, I would say we don't have as much info in. You can see Alex Borovkov, who is a Russian on the all-time money list, but he's rocking, I believe, an Argentina flag, maybe where he's at, vacationing potentially at the moment, but he's got himself a New Year's Eve sweat with a 22 blinds. Sometimes we see 5 blind, 7 blind stacks at the short stack, so not critically short. 22, plenty to play with, and a player I would say, again, unknown, a relatively unknown. Shout out to Bob Dylan, that movie, Timothy Chalamet. If you've seen it, a new film out there. He's unknown, I'd say, out of this group, which can be an advantage, Sowers, in poker. If you don't know, he probably is familiar with other players. They may be not as familiar with him, and let's see if he is going to be able to spin it up. Similar Arthur, last week we saw 25 big blinds. He did come back and take it down, maybe a little different pedigree and playing style, but either way, it's possible, and we know that's plenty of chips. So that's our 9th place player. As you can see, first final table, he has no wins on GG Millions before. Let's go ahead to number 8, someone we are a little more familiar with, Alex Kulev, who is the #1 all-time Bulgarian money list earner, 11 million on GG. Also very impressive live resume, and 3 of those million coming from the GG Millions. He has 2 wins and 13 final tables. Pretty impressive in the money, over a half the time cashing when he plays this. That has to be nice. That seems pretty absurd, but that is a real stat, and that is going to be Alex Kulev. What about him? Are you familiar with him? Have you played with him?
I played with Alex, yeah, and these numbers speak for itself. 55% in the money. We were looking at Arturov, and it's like he is 40%. These numbers are pretty incredible. Obviously over 40, a lot less than 200, but this guy has 14 million on Hidden Mob. He's an absolute stud. I think he lives in Dublin now, Ireland.
Yep. There you go. That couldn't have said it better. Alex, always a threat, and again with the stack today, still 24 blinds. What Artur won with last week, 25. So in contention, never out of it, and a tough player. Let's go to our next contestant, our entry, who is a man that is rocking that Santa Claus, an Estonian who had an epic Triton series, as you can see here. Not the same person, but he's using the energy of the picture, and you can catch true, if you will, with 0 wins, 8 final tables. Maybe it's the time. 118 appearances. Does have an impressive GG resume as well. He is in there with 35 big blinds today. Any bit of play with him live or online?
No, I haven't, but this picture is just epic. Like, my dad kind of used to follow me a lot, but he hit me up a few weeks ago, was like, have you seen this story? And I was like, yeah, I pretty much watched this guy. I watched all those streams from Triton and stuff, and it's pretty epic what this guy did. He showed up, for people that don't know, the guy in the picture, obviously not attached to, but he just showed up, played a 200K buy-in or 80K buy-in, both of them, I guess, and just went on an epic run. I saw him, crush Antonius's heart in a big hand, and yeah, I hope that guy stays around because it's such a cool story.
Yeah, don't quote me on it, but I think he ended up losing Antonius heads up for second place in the main, maybe, or in a big one, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it was the 200K. Like, he got second for a large amount of money, and then he followed it up with took first in the 150K, like, to close out or something. So he won, like 6 or 7 million in 2 tournaments and took second, and you just think, oh wow, so close, and then like to actually come back and win the high roller, that it was just pretty astounding stuff.
And very unorthodox style as well. He's not coming here with the same GTO, very structured style that a lot of players has. He basically followed his gut, his intuition, and just let it ride.
Yeah, there was some pretty special moments. So again, not the same player, but gotta respect it. Santa Claus-ish, they were nicknamed him in the photo, and of course a magical time of the year. So let's go to our next player, the guy we've spent a little time already on covering, 25 million in GG, absurd, and on the live streets as well, doing a lot of stuff. Four wins here, 28 final tables, 53 cashes, a little more normal cashing out of what that might look like, but still getting it done when he gets deep, getting the wins, and you can see on the all-time money list, #2. So very impressive. The guy you got to give respect to today, even though in 6th place. Someone will look to see if he's going to get another one, or if someone will share in the glory. But 4-time winner on the GG Millions. Good luck to Juan Parra Dominguez on the show today. Let's go to our next player here, a Vladimir Minko, who has won GG Millions before. Very impressive, 12 million on GG at 130 appearances. Put his time in, comes in, and he is rocking. Looks like a pig with the hat. I don't know, something going on there. He's got whatever he's doing something well. It's working. What about Vladimir? Any experience?
Well, he's Russian, but I guess he's playing out in Mexico. Don't have experience with him. Didn't see the picture, so wasn't able to see if I played with him live. So probably not. Probably one of these young crushers.
Yeah, very talented, and again, does get the win within 5 tries so far, going for another title there. Let's see our next player, the man who I believe who just won a bracelet down in the Bahamas. He also cashed at 25K, the special 50 mil, which I was down there playing. Hope everyone got to watch some of that and see what was going on. He just won the bracelet too. I think they did like the Saver. If I'm not mistaken, it was Summer Saver. It was called the Invitational, and he took down first place for 200,000. And I'm not sure if that was his first bracelet or not, but he did take that down. 487 entries. So nice close of the year for him. Gets in a bracelet, wins 200,000 from a free roll, cashes the main, and here he is in the GG Million. Some guys can do it. Brazil, man. Shout out to Brazil. Boatardi. I'm 600 days in a row on Duolingo, starting to really get my Portuguese cranking a little bit. So I'm always excited to see the Brazilians out here. So 44 big blinds. That country is in power in poker right now. They're really doing well. Yeah. And shout out to Felipe Mojave doing the KSOP, been hosting and helping with that. I know they got some series coming up in Brazil. Hope to make that this year as well. I don't know if you've checked that out, Mike, but they got some great events this year.
I've always wanted to go to Brazil. It's the one spot I haven't. My buddies went for the World Cup many years back. I think I was coaching football, so I didn't get to go. But just the 2 countries that really stand out to me as far as young good players is Brazil and France. Like, those 2 countries just have so many good players, and Brazil obviously is known for their loco play. They're pretty crazy aggro, but all of these guys just are fearless, usually very aggressive. Pablo I've definitely played with. He's been around since like 2013, but I don't think he really started playing really seriously, it looks like, till like 2017. And obviously getting that first is going to give him a lot of confidence coming into this final table.
For sure. 3 wins here on the virtual felt for the GG Millions, and almost half of his earnings just about are in GG Million. So again, one of the regulars here. We see 44 big blinds, plenty to cook with. Want to welcome everyone in again. Happy New Year. Please hit that thumbs up, subscribe. We will have giveaways for you. Of course we do. We always do. And this time, the festive winter time, we will have some at the end of the show. So that will be the first part of that to be involved. And also on Twitter, you can guess who is going to win. I didn't put it in the wording, but if you guys just guess and retweet that, who you think is going to win, you don't have to get it right. Just participate. I'll put the link there. That will be 3 giveaways today. Let me get that link here for you guys as well. So that's what we got going there. Again, we shout out the Mr. Pablo. And now the fun part where we get to see some of the hands. This is where we're going to go down to the top 3, and we're going to get to look at a hand that took place from Sunday, who I think I believe it's a username, not a real name, which is also interesting on GG, how not everyone has to have real name. But let's take a look at our 3rd place contestant and take a look. We're going to get to see a hand from him in a moment, but you can see a lot of his play is just on GG Million. So what is that? What do you make of that when you see someone like who's only playing the 10K buy and you see GG earnings, the majority of it being from this specific tournament? 50 big blinds today, taking the 6th to 9th, has 8 final tables, 77 appearances. What do you make of that when you see?
I think he's probably a cash player. Usually, right. A lot of times you see like cash players, they'll just pick one tournament, maybe usually the biggest tournament, play that, stick to their usual cash thing. Obviously, I don't know a lot about this guy, but that would just be intuitively just a guess at that.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a good guess. Also could just be someone, likes the higher stakes and is playing for fun. Does seem to be a pretty, maybe not in the money 43% of the time is impressive too. So I don't know. It seems like he knows what he's doing, and we are going to get to see a bit of their play today, and we're going to actually get to see a hand from Sunday. This again is from Sunday, and the action pauses when we play out the final table. That's every week. So this is a hand, 2 jacks. Always a fun one in poker. It's amazing how it's just like poker. You get the same sort of hands and situations. They're always exciting. It always seems like something new, something crazy could happen. It's like, what can go wrong, but also Very, very, very scary too. So let's see. Is he gonna 3-bet?
I'm like Lack. I want like things in big blinds, but it looks like that's about a 30 big blind stack here. I mean, it looks like with the short stack, I mean, probably want to flat this. Yeah. You don't really want to risk all in with this little short stack 90K here. Probably jacks are pretty easy to play post flop. If you get like a 10 high flop, you just let the guy try to barrel. A lot of times, like if the guy has more chips than you, he's going to try to take advantage of ICM and really put the pressure on you. Obviously, pretty low flop like this, you wouldn't expect him to have a lot of low combos with ICM implications, having to raise through the 1.2. I could say both getting it in, like just raise, get it in, or just calling. I usually prefer to call, especially with the jack of diamonds here, and kind of just let him barrel, and you have the greatest bluff catcher, basically.
Yeah, I think exactly to your point, right? This flop does look a bit innocuous. Of course, you lose the queens, kings, aces. Now 2 flush draws there, the turn backdoor flush draw possible, but at the moment you still have jacks pretty high up in the range. Don't think he's going to open, you know, those 6s, 3s, 2s. I mean, what are we, 7-handed?
Yeah,
chips,
and so now if we're betting, we're targeting, you know, probably pocket pairs. I think if this guy had a flush draw, he'd probably barrel twice, and if he did do that, I'd be likely to get it in. I at least want to bet some protection there, but I guess the check back isn't terrible.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so, yeah, we get a little bit of
play.
Yeah, we get a little bit of insight into the game there of the player. So he does go ahead and take you like, what sizing would you like to see on the turn?
I mean, just half is fine there, 40%, you know, just something where he has to call. I mean, obviously, if he check jams us, it's not the best situation, but we have a good enough hand that we're going to call off and expect that he might do that with some flush draws, maybe even some ace-4, ace-5 type hands.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very interesting, and a nice pot there. You can see at that stage of the tournament where the chips lay, and again, a bit of pot control, but nice played hand. Did get to a river and did take it down there. Let's go to our second place player, man. This guy, Andrew Wilson, you can see 2 final tables, no wins, 42 appearances. Someone we've seen a little more recently, 61 big blinds today. Did take a 4th place in December, and also was runner-up in a very nice score, right? And one of the big ones for 1.2 million. That was back in April, where a Mr. Andrew Wilson from the UK took down a 7-figure online score. Very, very hard to do, and he has accomplished that. Let's go ahead and take a look at one of his hands from Sunday, see what he was working with. This is a little bit of the deeper stages, 30K, 60K. You can see there he is, Mark Radoja in there. Some other names at the final table. Pavel, always a tough player. This is not an easy tournament. This is the thing. Yeah. There are satellite people come in, and then it can be whatever, but it is that's, like I say, the Champions League of Poker. It is 10K online. It is some of the toughest guys and girls out there to battle with. So this is, again, some names we see that didn't make the final table that we know are very tough players here as well, and come to Brazil.
And it's a re-entry as well, right?
Yeah, and I think that is the one thing about this stat line, right, where you see the percentage of cashing more often, because it's like you're getting to re-enter maybe closer to the reg closing. You get a few tries at it, and most players do take multiple bullets. So I think that's something to be considered. It does affect that a little. Here's our going to be chip leader, which we'll see a hand from him as well. Come to Brazil in there on the button with my friend Marcelo Aziz, who just took 2nd in Brazil at the the Bahamas for 4.6 million off that 0 entry from GGPoker, I believe, on a free roll. Ran it up.
That's a good come up.
The guest next week on the show, going to kick off the new year with us. Got to chat with him right after his score. He was just over the moon, and definitely a nice. You've been to Bahamas. You played a lot there. Yeah. You know how that is. That's a nice.
That's where my biggest score came. 2011 EPT. So that was always one of my favorite spots, especially. I just like to get out doing yoga on the beach in the morning, getting a workout. Obviously, it's expensive. All the players bitch about it just because of the food, all of those things. Here, I think it's pretty straightforward, just flatting. We don't really want to play a huge pot against chip leader, but we have a good enough hand to defend, even considering all the ICM.
Yeah, obviously, king, queen 6, pretty much about as well as you can flop with that hand, as you are out of position, but you're willing to potentially face some heat. And we see a check back. We saw this before, right, with the jacks, the same player, I believe, that against them. So like a little bit Not just
Probably
automatic.
pod control, and probably has a hand that like a medium pair or something that he didn't really want to turn into a bluff and rather would call down based on the jack's hand. It's interesting to check twice here. Obviously, if we check and he bets on the flop, I lean toward just calling and trying to let this guy, whenever a guy has much bigger stack than you and you have the nuts at a final table, you kind of just check and let them try to, put you in a tough spot and hang themselves.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, you got to bet. You got to try to go for something. I probably would have let out on the turn because if he's checking back on the flop, he probably at least has ace high.
Yeah, the also when you have the king of hearts and it's sort of like seems like a good hand. It could be bluffing some flush draws or the jack 10. So now he does go size up on the river after
Which I
checking
think you would
down.
do with a 9. You're always going to do this with a queen, and obviously if you're going to bluff, you're going to try to bet big. You're not going to bet small and let this guy call with an ace high as a hero call or something. Guessing the way this played out, this guy just calls and has eights, huh?
Yeah, it seems like he's got a exact sort of middling. There you go, 7. So he's got a tricky hand here. Sowers locked in. He got him pegged. There was another queen Pavel showed, and that was a hand for Andrew that got him kind of in the healthy situation he is in, 2.5 million, and so he does end up still getting a large bet in out of the as played out in sevens. Can't really blame, I guess, for as played. What do you think on that sizing with sevens, though? This is just what poker comes down to, some of these spots on getting it right?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in his spot, I'm just always betting this flop. I mean, even though the big blind's going to have a much tighter range against us, it definitely either lends back to what we were talking about. He's a cash game player, or maybe now I'm thinking maybe even a rec player. Just because just betting makes everything so much simple. You could still get called by the 6, and then you kind of, I mean, you're really not getting check raised on this board too often. I mean, a lot of players are going to be check raising like the 4 or 5 of diamonds, stuff that has like backdoor combo draws are good bluffs to check raise. But in this exact spot, I don't even think you would be check raising those spots because of the ICM and having to raise through a bigger stack. So just betting, I think, makes the hand play a lot simpler. And he probably would have just bet, check back turn, called a river. So he probably would have lost about the same overall.
Yeah, the interesting hand though, as we get to go to our chip leader today, come to Brazil. He is rocking that. That's the man who took second. I just mentioned for 4.6 million, Marcelo, and our guest next week on the GG Millions to kick off the new year. And you can see he has no wins, 2 final tables, 327 in GG Million earnings, and 3.4. Maybe just hopping in, deciding, hey, my friend just did well. I think I did check with Marcelo, make sure that wasn't his username, and he said it was his buddy, so he's in Canada, and good luck to him today as he has a few final tables recently. Those are coming in December and September. So let's take a look at our chip leader's hand today. What he did, he's got 95 blinds coming in and a ace-5 offsuit with 800,000. Interesting. These are interesting hands. Ace-5 off, cut off. I mean, you got.
Yeah, I'm like, how could we be viewing his hand? I mean, it better at least get folded to us.
Yeah, I'm just thinking too, like, yeah, it's a tough open here.
I mean, it's okay to open, but yeah, I mean, it's really not that great with our stack versus these guys' stack. I mean, I think ICM, most ranges probably do fold this. We'll see.
See who's got 800 is not suited. It's an ace. It is folded.
Oh, I guess he has 15 blinds, not 90 blinds here. Oh, so you might just ship this. It's really close.
791,
Second
yeah.
to last. Yeah, he could just ship this in. He'd min raise. Well, these spots I'm always min raise fold. Obviously, if we get called by the big blind, we're going to be the lead aggressor. We're going to take it down high percentage with C bets, etc. And we flop an ace, we're probably thinking we're pretty good against a wide range. It's just always tough because this guy could jam. I don't know, is this on the final table bubble or what is this?
So we don't know the exact. We can look at the blind level and sort of try to make it out. I don't think this is
7. There's probably like 14 or 13 left at this point, so it's probably not the exact bubble.
Yeah, it's not, definitely not the exact. I think it's a little before that, but here we go. Got the ace-5. top pair with the
standard
diamond.
is like 25% here, so probably like 80,000, something like that. It's a good bet.
Gonna bet and gotta feel comfortable, but you're not sure. And also, this player's played a little bit coy, right? He's flatted a few times. He's checked back spots that could bet. So, like, he, you know, definitely could have. We are having a turn 5, which is nice. Now you are beating some other stuff you were maybe worried about, even some random, like, little better aces. Now pretty high up in the range.
Yeah, and I think you still bet kind of small-ish. I mean, having the 5 of diamonds kind of helps you do that. But I think, like, most people are betting like a third here, maybe 40%. Obviously, if we bet and get raised on the flop, it's pretty under-bluffed range. Obviously, the good players are taking advantage of that. But most of the time when people check raise this board on the flop, they're going to have 2 pair of flush. So looks like he did bet about a third. And then that kind of shows, like, hey, I might could have some fold equity here. You never know. If I, like, my Broadway suiteds that have a diamond, I'd probably be making this bet where you might not be able to call off. Oh, he just called twice. Kind of tricky. We wouldn't really expect too many 4s unless it has a diamond paired with it. So I think that we could safely go for 3 streets here and stick it in.
Yeah, I think it's probably what we're going to see. He is, again, the chip leader, and this pot at the moment now is, his stacked pot ratio. He's comfortable to go for it. Definitely.
Yeah, the only thing is like, he probably has ace rags because his good aces would probably be jamming, and his 10s would need some combo of a diamond. So it kind of leads maybe a little bit more weighted to the ace-4, but I still think ace-6, ace-7, all these hands are going to pay, because if I have, like, queen-jack with a diamond, I'm also taking this line and putting it in on the river, so.
So he bets and leaves back 100K. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. The ace. Okay, so he did just get the fold. Does go for the bet there. I think that makes perfect sense, and we're gonna get to see a takedown. Didn't get to see what our opponent in the big blind had, but that is a look at Come to Brazil, who again is our chip leader today. And then today, the final table is we're gonna do our normal draft here. So I'm gonna let you pick first. You get 100 units. We're gonna break it up, 3 players each. We can put a dinner on it, and then the audience as well. Of course, we got the tickets and the giveaways, and then the link on. I'll put that. I think I didn't put it yet on Twitter, but go ahead. Why don't you pick first, and you can tell me how much.
I get 100 units, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just bet 40 units on Juan. I like that number.
On the who are you betting there? Come to Brazil.
Juan. Yeah, Dominguez.
Okay, I will go with Pablo Silva. I'm gonna bet 50 units on him, going for a score on the 7.74 to 1. Who's your second pick?
He's second to last in chips, but I really like the odds at 11.8 on Alex Kulev. I mean, he's obviously a really good player, and I think he's probably like at least top 3 player here, and getting those odds, I definitely feel comfortable taking him, and I'll put 30 on him.
All right, I'm gonna put 30 on Juan Pardo Dominguez. I'm a big sucker for the big names and the results and the wins and the experience. So I'm gonna go 30 there on him, and then you have one last pick.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take Andrew Wilson here. He looks to me like he's probably in his mid-20s and a super grinder, and I've definitely seen him around at the World Series poker and stuff. So.
Okay. I will take the next the username in third place. What does that say? It's Coleus, 1978, maybe the cash game player. We're not sure, but I'll go with the chips there, and that will be my 3, your 3. I'll take my remaining units on that. I think it's 20, and we will get to have a little competition. We'll have some fun, and we got the audience. You can let us know who you think's going to win. You can do that actually on Twitter. Go to my Twitter, Jeff Gross Poker, and I put a link in the chat. You guys can guess who wins there. It doesn't need to be right, but just retweet, guess, get that out. I will announce a $50 cash giveaway for that. As we see, we appreciate everyone who is on the pregame show. We did cover the 9 finalists. We took a look at last week's winner, and we are, again, closing out the new year in style here. Mike Sowers legend of the game. Great to have him on, and we'll be chatting with him and covering a lot more as well with a short break coming up here, Mike. I think it's a little too close to call who's going to win today. Not so many. It's not like a huge stack and a lot of short. It's really 22 blinds as our shortest stack. Really wide open. Anyone can win. Always fun. See how the final table shakes out. We will take a very short break, and in 5 minutes we'll be back to call to action. We'll watch the seat. They in order. 9th place down to first. They get to jockey and pick their seat. Always kind of interesting to see strategy on that. We'll talk about that, and we'll see you guys and girls after the break in 5 minutes.
See you then.
All right, welcome back. After the pregame show, we're going to dive right into it. We have Mr. Mike Sowers, Jeff Gross. We are going to call the last GGMillions for 2024. It is Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. Happy New Year to everyone out there, wherever you're watching in the world. Maybe it's already been the new year, depending. We got an international crowd here. 317,000 to first today, a big one, and 45,000, of course. Worst case scenario for the remaining 9. This is again from Sunday. Pause. Play the final table on Tuesday, same time, same place. Next week, we will have a very special guest. Happens to be the picture of the chip leader today. Go figure, Mr. Aziz, but that is not him playing. That's a friend of his, I am told. Although, again, come to Brazil, taking it, holding it down, 95 big blinds. 22 blinds is our shortest, and we get to see the seat selection. Mike, is there anything other than, as the last pick, go to the left of the biggest stack? What other things would you consider here?
Well, you kind of like, if you're one of these short early stacks, you try to think about which guy the left, the chip leader will pick. And he's usually going to try to be on the side of the second chip leader. So sometimes you might want to try to get behind that. But this is interesting dynamic. And obviously, having played on GG quite a bit, it's always interesting how it works out. It almost seems like the actual strategy doesn't really play out that much because, like you said, the last person just gets to take their favorite spot, and most people just take to the left. So a lot of times what I'll do is just go opposite the table of wherever like the second guy is. And what will end up happening is he'll end up picking right to my left, and then chip leader will be 2 to my left. So it doesn't necessarily always work out the way you want, but that's kind of some of the strategy. Obviously, being the chip leader, it's kind of cool to have that edge. And usually you want to be on the side of the second stack, kind of so you can abuse him. And if the short stacks are on your left, that's not that bad either because you can be shoving their blinds and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there we see that Andrew just put himself there as we get to come to Brazil. Where does he want to go? Okay, so yeah, he does right just there. Sort of go chalk to the left of Andrew, and that's not too surprising. I would say out of the seats, what we see here, there's not much. I mean, Juan Pardo Dominguez is kind of seems like in a decent spot. He's to the left of Pablo, maybe the next most experienced player, and sort of away from the chip leaders.
Yeah, and Alex kind of ran pretty hot too. The short stack kind of being across the table. I always like that. You get some chips, and then you don't have to really be in a lot of heads-up battles. All right, we get some 2 playable hands right off the bat.
Yeah, 3 playable. We got ace-7 suited, 9s.
Oh, I didn't see the ace-7 suited. Yeah, that's quick open.
Queen. So I mean, that's going to be
30.
Kind of interesting, right? When you see the 9s, and then if you're on the button with the ace queen off, I've always found that's like of course it makes sense why it's tricky, because it's like a good hand but not a great hand, similar to jacks or 10s. But ace queen, in this spot where it's like early position raise, 9s get involved. Let's say they flat, and then what do you do with the ace queen? Do you want to squeeze?
Yeah, probably squeeze and then fold. It's usually right. The most. Yeah, like a lot of times you just don't like calling behind with ace queen and 3-way pot. So I expect a squeeze here, but obviously this is our rec/cash game player that we don't know a lot about. So he might actually elect to flat. We've seen him kind of slow play some hands already.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. So.
Yeah, pros and cons on that are definitely, it's a mixed bag. You're going to have win the pot a lot less. You're also not really finding out if you're against ace king or whatnot, but you're also not going to lose a lot of chips right away. You could end up losing more down the road, but as it turns out, no player really loves this flop. 9's still in the lead.
Yeah,
where the 7 pairs and ace queen in a distant third now.
Yeah, and if this guy did squeeze with ace queen, obviously the ace-7 would probably fold, and the 9s might back jam, which, or they might flat. But if you get back jammed after squeezing,
I don't think 9s would back jam there for all that. It's a pretty deep. I mean, they're relatively big, 2 of the bigger stacks. I don't think he's just gonna.
Yeah, just that would be one of the cons of doing the squeeze play is that you probably aren't going to be thrilled about calling off. It's more of a take it down now or play a big pot in position type play than 3-bet call off. So calling is perfectly fine. Wow.
Ooh, and that
Ooh.
is a very
Two
nice
pairs.
card for one. Yeah.
We got to bet. We wouldn't expect anyone to have a flush draw. We would expect them to at least stab the turn if they check back the flop, but most people are probably going to bet the flop with a flush draw. So we probably should just see a bet, a fold, and a call.
Yeah. It's kind of for ace queen, it's tough though, right? Because you're like, in a way, you're just thinking, what is he now value betting that he didn't bet, and he's going to bet big?
Yeah.
Like
We're
it's
just
a little
too
bit
good. We expect to probably just chop against an ace most of the time. And who knows? I mean, yeah, it's really tough to find anything that he would bet like as a bluff. So yeah.
Yeah, what does Juan do with ace jack there? Ace
I
jack
mean,
suited.
you might just check, like, I mean, you probably do bet, but you could check, especially with like a hand like ace 8 or something. You're just check calling rather than betting.
It's tricky though, and you do know that no one really has a flush, right? So that's like that's sort of then ace queen gets a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
Tough start there, and yeah, I think
Just
you're right.
hoping he has like deuces and just total non-showdown hand trying to bluff or something.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
Juan
40
Pardo
bigs. I think
nice
call
start.
usually.
Number 2 all time on the
Wow.
list, money list there. Juan Pardo gets off to a really nice start for himself. And we are again seeing some
action.
Hands.
Yeah, we should see a 4-bet all in and probably a fold. It's tough to do much else here with jacks. I mean, just pretty much plays itself. We'd expect him to have some bluffs, probably ahead of his range most of the time. Also cover him. So you could think the 3-bet range should be a little tighter considering it's against the chip leader, but also whenever you start dealing with these ICM final tables, you start kind of getting into these level games. You'll definitely see it in all the high stakes stuff where you're supposed to play really tight. So that's when people will actually have more 3-bet bluffs. But here, obviously, we see he has a real hand. Yeah.
Klinko is gives the haha a little frustrating, right? To get a 3-bet in and
not even get to see it.
Might not have worked against under Brazil. He had a hand he could definitely put pressure and retaliate with the king queen off, as he now gets aces and it's a little bit off timing wise, as no one.
Yeah, rockets with no one wanting to play, everyone quick folding.
Still good. Come to Brazil getting some playable hands to start, as we see here. No one with a pair even, right? Ace 4 suited.
Yeah, we get 2 kings and then 2 suited kings and an ace suit. The ace suit's in a pretty tricky spot with 30 bigs here. Yeah, I like fold.
Yeah, this is king jack suited, one of the ones people love to get creative with, as we see a flat, and both players don't make a pair. Both have some flush possibilities. Yeah, king jack suited, nice spot here. Got
very straightforward hand to play. I mean,
yeah.
3-betting, you kind of knock out some of the worst kings too, and then you get yourself into tricky spots to where they could 4-bet and you're definitely forced to fold. So most people are flatting those. Queens and an ace suit. We're probably going to get another fold out of the ace 3 of diamonds.
Nice hands here so far. We've seen a couple playable hands.
40 bigs. I think we have to 3-bet and probably call off, even with the ICM considerations. We would expect them to probably have some bluffs, and this might be a candidate for the 4-bet bluff shove, but most of the time it's the ace 5 suited.
Why is the ace 5 so much better than the ace 4?
I don't know. It's just the solvers say so. I think that's a great question. It's just most of the solvers say that. It's not something that I always do, but Some of the good players are always about that.
Is it partly just like they pick it as in like if you do ace four, ace three, it's too many, or does it actually make a little difference where you get against fours or threes too a little bit differently where you have the overs or that you make I wonder why it's that much better.
Yeah, I mean, there's some spots too where it'll be like you fold a7 off, for example, or a7, and then like well, it's usually a6, so like a7 will be playable and ace5 will be playable and a6 won't be,
Yeah.
but that's a little bit more linear thinking because you really can't make a lot of straights with a6, at least not the nut ones.
Yeah, it's funny. I love watching these two because it just gives you such tempo. There's times where no one has anything forever, and there's time where you just see cooler after cooler. But you
Yeah.
really start getting a better feel too for nine-handed poker cards up, where you start feeling like what people are doing, how people respond, and like also to see how hard it is to make hands. Right? Like you're like so many times you see no one even has a pair, no one flops whatever, and why aggression can be rewarded so much. But everyone's got a style. That's the
Yeah.
thing. All these players.
Especially in today's game, everyone is so aggressive pre-flop with their ranges, right? Like obviously they're pretty condensed in that they're very structured. So like Broadway suits, you know, 7, 8 type suits, play a little deeper and stuff. But since people are pretty much very aggressive pre-flop, it actually lends to three betting a lot. And so as the game has progressed over the years, it's kind of funny because I feel like in a way it's kind of coming back full circle where flatting has become a little bit more popular again, just kind of realizing equity, even like with like flush draws and stuff, kind
Yeah.
of just calling rather than like raise getting it in with like two overs and a flush draw, et cetera, or two overs and a straight draw.
And here we see King 9 suited against Queen 3. These are always tough. You out of position, you make a pair, the button range is wide. And he does, wow, that is
Wow,
quite
good
an
guard.
action card. That is the one of one where literally the biggest action card in the deck. You make a King 9 picks up a huge continuation draw
Yeah.
and come to Brazil improves to the 2
And this
pair.
is my pick, Alex, huh? I'm going to need him to get there because this guy's not going to fold. And I expect at least a 2/3, maybe a half size. If he bets 100 and he gets called, yeah, he needs to bet at least 150, 200. So he has a pot size left. That's probably what he'll do. Because really, we're expecting if we bet this turn, we're going to get a lot of folds out of the tens and the lower pairs. It's really tough for him to have an ace because we would expect he probably would have re-raised us besides the rag aces. It's going to be really difficult. This guy's probably, I mean, I guess you just call with the queen 3, but he might elect to shove.
I was thinking he might shove. It's a pretty
Yeah.
dicey board for the 2 pair, and you're gonna put like all the ace in a tough spot, deny some stuff, and you lose to King Jack, but you're losing anyway. These are the ones that are
Yeah, you
fun.
protect
It's really
against,
close.
yeah, it's like a7. Is that going to call you when you jam? Probably. So you do it.
Yeah, this is a bad
Whereas
result.
a7 might not, it might just bet twice and check the river. So you wouldn't really get full value against that type of hand. I mean, this is so tough. Being the short stack here, he might elect to just call, but no. I mean, it just doesn't have enough equity. He's probably like 30 some percent, I guess, and getting 2-1.
Well, he's got 12 outs basically
Yeah.
once, right?
Yeah.
It's like 20,
A little under. Yeah.
27 or 6 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Tough,
Wow.
tough
Aces
spot.
again.
This guy, man, he's rocking the Aziz. This man is running super pure and
This friend group.
And
Yeah, they're flying in the clouds right now. That's why it's gonna be tough to beat this guy.
We saw a guy with like I think he had 8 or no, maybe I'm making that. He had 4 aces final table. Some like we saw like 12. No, it says it was like 11 aces at the GGMillion final table. One guy had him 4 times and pretty quickly. It was pretty nutty. I mean, you're supposed to get it what every 220 hands, 9-handed or something. Is that
This is
right?
gonna be really tricky spot. I mean, You expect it. I mean, I guess being the chip leader, well, you do have one lower stack, so you could kind of contemplate that he might be bluffing you some part of the time. But being under the gun 2 there with eights against the small blind 3-bet, we wouldn't really expect to have too many hands who are really happy to get it in. All right, 10's and ace queen. He's got to go. So at least we're going to see our first all in. We would expect. And I'm going to need Alex to win. I can't be buying you dinner. I mean, what?
That would be, yeah, I mean, you know, worst things. We'll have a nice dinner either way, but I think, you know, we're going somewhere nice, so
Yeah.
it is an important one. And a friend of GG here in the purple writing there, I think streams, Borkoff. See, nice fold, honestly. I mean, you could see the chip leader putting some ICM pressure. You start talking yourself in with Alex being short, others short. You know, he's just playing aggressive, but he got rid of those eights comfortably.
Yeah, very
Didn't think
quickly.
long about it. And we got to flip. This is our first all
Ace
in,
or queen.
first moment of the day. Brazil, how
There
are
we
they
go.
running today? Alex gets a massive pair on the flop, needs to fade the 10 on the river. Can do it. I was just telling you before how I busted a 25K, a little nasty 10 on the river, 2 outer as it ran out. But it's fade there for Alex, and it's sure it's for you, man. You still remember some of the biggest and worst beats of your career, right? You just it's natural. You remember times where it is crazy. Poker is such a wild game. How like I
had one of the best GIFs of all time. I won out at Stu Middleman at a final table. So he had an overpair and a flush draw on the turn, and I hit the 1-outer on the river, and they turned it into LeBron Steph GIF, where basically when the camera, it was at a WSOP final table, I think I lost heads up to Bonomo, and when they panned back to him, like literally before the last card was there, as soon as he saw it, he was out of his chair, and his chair was just spinning empty. It was.
I've seen this.
Yeah, it was. I think Noah was on the stream talking about it that day.
That's hilarious.
It was a 6 max 1500, I think. I actually had to fold aces. I remember very vividly. I had to fold aces heads up to Bonomo, and it's like it was such a lame board, like a Broadway board, but he ended up having 2 pair and thin value, so it was the right play.
Yeah,
but yeah, you never forget. I mean, part of like the progression of a poker player is dealing with those traumatic losses and kind of letting them go or embracing them. I mean, if you're in this game or you're in any game where there's luck and skill involved, you know, it's tough to kind of determine which is the greater of the two. And a lot of life's learning lessons comes in those losses and those bad beats. And it's very easy to get into this woe is me type thing. And I've worked with a mentor and a coach now for a long time, basically to rebound, to get back. You know, a lot of it's being active, you know, maybe it's yoga, meditation. For me nowadays, it's like cold plunges help a ton to like just bring me back to the present moment and kind of flip the script if I start to go down that woe is me path. And even now I'm playing a lot of DFS and stuff like that. So there's always insane things, especially in these showdown slates at the very end where one play will be the difference between 6 figures and losing money on the slate. And so that's just the career path we've chosen. And you either got to embrace it or maybe it's not for you. You choose a different career path and this just becomes more recreational. So pretty standard second lead here. It is interesting that he checked back that flop with the ace of clubs, but this guy's going to have mostly pairs and high broadways, I guess, calling.
Well, it's check flop. That's right, and then check, and then lead turn. Yeah. Ace 9 coming to Brazil, 4 million, very comfortable. It's nice when you've got the basic second and third stack in the cut about what it takes to cover you. So yeah, he's healthy right now, very healthy. As we see again, no knockouts yet. Pablo going to double up Alex. Alex getting a lot of playable hands. Queen 10 off, good enough 9-handed, he says, chip leader.
Well, yeah, it's the chip leader here. Like if we were just playing for chips, standard, like mid-tournament, this was a quick fold. But the fact that he gets to open and hands that normally would play, are going to have to fold. Obviously, it didn't get through here, and it might still be a fold pre, but sometimes you ride that rush, just keep going until someone stops you.
Yeah. Also, you get your VPIP up, you look a little wild, and then you helps you get paid. And it's again exactly there's some hands better than his that are going to fold by him opening first. So here we go. King 6 off, Queen 9 suited.
And a lot of people are 3-betting these king rags these days against like cutoff button. Hijack might be a little iffy, but he might go for it. We'll see. Just a flat and a great flop for the Queen 9. Not a lot of check raise possibility. Pretty much going to be a quick fold from the big blind we'd expect. What's your next poker tournament coming up?
Good question. I haven't got that far. I mean, World Series for sure, but that's a ways. So I don't know. I haven't really looked at. Man, there's stuff at the Hard Rock, which is not far. It just kind of. I think January. There's actually stuff here. I just, to be honest, I'm day by day with everything, man. Just been crazy busy, and it's again 2 little kids, and tournaments are so fun. I love them, but I love doing this too.
When you have
it's
a family, huh?
It's a bit hard with this as well because, like, I mean, I can miss a show and have stuff fill in, but it's like also usually when I play tournaments, I'm like, this is Tuesday, so it's like if I go deep, I have to kind of plan. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's sort of like try to use it more sparingly when I'm.
How long have you been doing this show?
Been over 2 years now. I think 2.5 years.
Yeah, I feel like streaming is so good, especially
wow. He steps into a Kula, makes it, and he is going to run into Wilson's Kings. Needs help. Clubs are no good for Kulev. He needs a 6 and a 6 only, or we will go to a 8-handed match. And Wilson, we said the young grinder, comes in second and comes in now with a big pickup there. He has got 3 million, and he took out the dangerous Bulgarian there as we are down to 8 and a relatively.
If you have 3 horses like this, you would rather one of your horses bust you, at least. So now you get a bigger chip stack and better advantage. But yeah, hate to lose one of my first 3 horses. That's the gamble you take. Obviously, he was the second to last stack. And obviously, he just thought, the guy was going to have some 3-bet folds. Otherwise, he's not jamming there. And who knows? Andrew Wilson he might know the player and know that he's going to have some 3-bet folds there. It's tough to have a pair, but pair over pair is nice.
Yeah, it's I mean, can you again? Sort of a game of inches at that point. It gets close to taking spots or being too passive. You want to ladder, you want to make it, but you also want to go for it and not leave yourself super short. He was the risk premium on the lower side, but that is going to be our first elimination down to 8. And I'm sure we'll see Alex many more times in 2025. That will be his last run here in the GGMillion League. It is nice to close the year out with the big score, as all these remaining players have a chance to do. Big swing between 8th and 1st.
Yeah, anytime in the year, really. I mean, all of these guys, 4.5 year buy-ins, 30x for first is nice. So all of these guys are playing this weekly. So getting first, or really top 3, helps a lot. Not only momentum, but sustaining, through the droughts, because no matter how good you are, you're going to have them. Obviously the better you are, the shorter they are, but it's pretty important to kind of boost that bankroll to get through those. Because obviously too, as your bankroll gets lower, your mindset could start to get a little shaped badly. You could start questioning everything. This game is very tricky. I always thought it's really an emotional IQ game. You have to be very high emotional intelligence and then have a short memory. And you really think the number one quality I would look for in a poker player is just resilience. Whether it's in a single tournament, a cash game, whatever, you definitely need resilience no matter what form of poker you're playing, because the cards aren't always going to go your way. And it's really about losing the least amount when they're not going your way. So the ace king here might check back. We'll see. It's a very nice flop. For the 8-9 suited. Wow.
Ooh.
He might get paid. It's a tricky spot, even still with the ace, though. The guy bets, like, obviously, you're probably going to at least call a street. But on the river, you're going to think, like, if they lead, they at least probably have the 6 or flush draw. But and you got to think now, like, well, what would he be bluffing with? You know, maybe like a 7-8 with 1 diamond is a decent candidate. And here you just want to try to figure out how to extract max value. You might bet, you know, half to 2/3 to he could even size up and pot it. You would expect the guy checking back has an ace. So it's really like, what amount can you bet that he won't fold the ace? Wow, he checks. I guess he was looking for the check raise and hoping the guy would bet the ace. But that's very surprising.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, I think
surprising.
that you're going to get too many checkbacks there.
Yeah. I mean, an ace really can't even comfortably value bet. So that's very good check back by, I guess is it, how are you pronouncing this? Ketchu?
Cat's true, yeah.
Ketchu,
Thought
yeah.
going
That's,
with it, but not sure.
yeah, very nice check back. And whenever you get a hand like that, you get to check back and lose the minimum. That helps a lot too, you know. And who knows, he might not have called the river bet. It still was going to be pretty tricky.
2-9 suited. Tell me about your closing big blind range here. When you're got suited cards, you're closing the action, but this is
I'm
multi-way.
folding this one. Like if we're going chippy V mid tournament, I think you call any 2 suits here. In this scenario, 2 bigger stacks, I'm probably just folding and preserving my ICM equity, not getting myself flush over flush stacked. Even I guess 3 deuces are pretty comfortable. You're not too worried about, but 3 nines, we'd still be a little worried that we could be outkicked and stuff. Oh, he would have flopped it. Wow.
Wow.
Well, that's what happens when you take discipline routes. Sometimes, you know, you see the cards come out and you might look back, but you made the right play, I would think. And even as it starts to go more ways, then your hand becomes less. So like heads up, the 2-9 suited would be a little better than playing like 3-4 ways, because now you're just increasing the chance that someone has a more suited over cards than you. And the ace queen's gotta feel really good here.
It's 118 to 1 to flop the flush, but it's also like even in this spot, right? You don't know, you could be in really, really bad shape. Also, you're still not out of the water here. And how do you know, it's a tough hand to play. Wow, Jack Queen suited.
Wow, yeah, that's a very interesting check call. It's almost like he's setting something up, because that just seems suicidal, really. Like there's not many things that come that you're excited about.
Right. Yeah, it seems like almost he's got some devious plan, because that doesn't the queen jack. And now, I mean, here you go. You get a
Yeah.
chance on the
Well,
river.
that big. I mean, if he bets big, he might get a fold. I mean, it should his range looks very much like a pocket pair. It's really tough for him to have a 4 though. Would he bet this size with a 10? Probably. So now would he bet the size with nines? That would be pretty thin. Oh, I wonder if come to Brazil we'll see through this. He does block a flush, kinda. It's not the worst. You would think if maybe the guy has pretty much one of the bluff hands is ace spade with a random second card. Wow. And he gets it to pay off. Well, that's what you got to do if you're going to check call that flop. You're going to have to find a way to win it.
Yeah, you don't get to sometimes, though, right? You don't even get a chance. Sometimes you just get bet down.
Yeah, they just bet on the turn, and you're just quick folding.
Interesting. All right, Juan, gonna go ahead and pick that up as we see some of the superstars still in. We have lost one player, Alex Kulev, and everyone else still in on this last Tuesday of 2024. Again, depending where you are in the world, it might be already New Year's or close to it. Happy New Year to everyone. And 2025 next week, we will be kicking off with a show. We will have the man who took second at that 50 mil 25K in Bahamas, the Mr. Marcelo Aziz, who is the same picture. That is the picture of him in Come to Brazil's. That will be our show next week. Going to be excited to talk to him. That's got to be quite a feeling. Any free roll stories? He took 0 to 4.6. You got 4.6 million. Anything?
Free rolls was like, I mean, it brings me back to our heyday, right? When I was like 17, I was at UNC Charlotte. I would go to the library and register 1 million accounts on Paradise Poker, get a free 10, 20 bucks, run it up to 900 bus.
Do that on Party Poker.
Run it up to 1,000.
I signed up everyone in my dorm. That was how I get that. Like, you refer a friend.
You were in Maryland or where?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. You were a Gamecock?
Yes, sir.
You played soccer there?
4 years, yeah.
Nice.
There was some soccer. There was some good poker going on then. USC Fedor won one of the biggest Sunday Millions back then. I was there on his couch when he won. Carter King, USC Fedor was playing a lot. There was a few other guys, Dan, USC Swimmer, some other guys. Like, poker was pretty popular in at the college there.
I think I wore my South Carolina Gamecocks hat at the first final table I ever played. And then maybe it was the second. I don't know. I remember the very first tournament I ever played. I was being backed by Durr, and I went all in with 9-4 offsuit against Mike Sexton. He had opened like 12 hands in a row, and I was just like, well, he's chip leader. He should be opening every single hand, but he just had queens. Obviously, Mike was a pretty tight player and probably one of the biggest mistakes of my career. And then I remember just talking to Tom afterwards. He's like, well, I'd pretty much rather have any other hand. And it was pot limit hold'em. And I remember Patrick Antonius just saying, like, everyone's clapping. I busted 8th or whatever. And he's like, that hand deserves no applause.
No way.
That's amazing. And so it was on ESPN. It was 10K pot limit hold'em. It was my first tournament I ever played at the World Series.
Was Marchese at that one?
No, it was a mitt. And then it was a who's who. It was Patrick, Kathy Liebert. I don't think Locke was there, but he might have been.
What a clean run out for us for coming to Brazil there. Ace-9 suited just couldn't get there, had the world and didn't get it done. And wow, yeah. So you ended up taking 8. Well, that was where they stopped
like 100K or so. Yeah,
that pot limit Omaha. I like that, the pot limit one, but then it just like there was no ante, right, and no.
Yeah, I had 12 blinds and potted it, and then he put me all in, and I just flung my chips like this, like by. And I remember just going outside and basically like in tears, angry at myself, which, I mean, it was fun because the next year everyone just thought I was even crazier than they already did. So I got to play pretty tight. Tom's deals were really good too, because I kind of liked the way he set them up, because it was 300K in buy-ins and no makeup. So after the 300K in buy-ins, if you're up, you split. If you're down, the deal's over. I feel like a lot of times in these staking deals, and I mean, staking is a lot drier than it was back then. Obviously on GGPoker, they have staking in the client. So you can go on there, you can buy percents of people, you can sell pieces of yourself out. But it was like, once you get 200-300K in makeup and you're playing a simple 1K where first is 90K, it's just like the incentives start to get really skewed the deeper you get. And I've definitely seen that with a lot of friends. Luckily, I've never really been in that deep of debt or that big of a makeup number. But I've definitely backed some people that were, and I could definitely see how the no makeup makes a lot more sense. It was like a very forward thinking deal by Tom, and obviously he was crushing. He had all the money, and
so it was just over. If you lost it, that was it.
Yeah. And so like that first final table winning 100K, it was like I didn't even get that. I just went to buy-ins. I think the next February final table at LAPC for like 600K. So ended up profiting, we split 400, ended up getting like 200 off that deal. And Tom kind of stopped doing those deals, so started going elsewhere. It's kind of that's the interesting part about poker. And now I'm doing these virtual horse racing thing on Solana, and the leaderboards all show winnings, right? And so the winnings don't necessarily show the business net profit.
Yep.
And so people go see your Hinden Mob or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you've won 2 million. You got 2 million." It's like, well, really, I might have 600. I might have 300 after taxes, deals, all these things. It's so. Oh, getting check raised here. That's interesting. Usually, you would think to just call here, but I guess he wants to kind of outline. I guess the heart too. Now I mean, does he bet again? You would think you have to check here, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting. I love seeing these again. These guys have so much history. This is big buy-in, small field, and guys that play this every week, basically. So they have a lot of history with each other, and they're certainly two of the more skilled players on to boot. So this is very interesting. Ace Queen suited now. Get check raised. And what do you do?
Well, I think this guy should check too. Yeah. You just don't. I mean, the guy check raised you. Like, I wouldn't even expect this guy to have an ace. I would expect more like king 10, queen 10 type bluffs. Obviously, if he check raised you with the queen 10 on the flop, he's probably going to barrel the turn. And now, can we value bet?
Yeah, I guess you don't expect many aces to check raise, probably like
Yeah,
weak aces.
and it's like, what's going to call you, really, It's almost like the check raise to me just screams bluff on the flop. And so now it's like, do I really want to bet? Obviously, he does bet. Might get called too, but I doubt it. This is just one of those leveling wars. I mean, pretty unorthodox play from the big blind. So it sets up a kind of unique how we got here on the river type line. Really gonna. I guess he would have just check called twice. Probably lost about the same. Very good value bet. And that's usually why in Pablo's stance, we do just call the flop, keep the pot relatively small. We have the backdoor hearts, we have the ace. He's going to two barrel some broadways. So it's a decent bluff catcher too, but also it'd be a lot easier to get away too. If we face three barrels, obviously with that run out, probably wasn't going to get a three barrel. Let's see. That's very interesting. This guy just flats here. A lot of people are going to elect to shove. He has less than 20 bigs with the ace 10 off, right? Out of the big blind. It's okay though, because you keep some of the smaller aces in. Your hand plays really well. You definitely want to keep some high card coverage in your flat range there in the big blind as well. Whenever I'm in that situation though, like even with this king 10, I would just probably be opting to try to get it in. I really like trying to get above a 20 big blind stack, because I feel like anytime you're less than 20, you're pretty handcuffed, right? You're pretty much all in. Obviously nowadays you can flat a little more, especially out of the big blind. You can raise fold a little more. But when you start getting in that 25, 30 big blind range, you have a lot more options pre-flop. You can put more pressure on people, whether it's a 3-bet, you can be you have a lot more variety in your plays.
Yeah. Well, interesting turn. Ace Jack suited picks up the nut. Flush draw. Ace Jack is not winning, but an Ace Jack or a spade would secure that. One pardo now with King 7. Going to get to a river, has the best hand. So far, advantage to our second all-time money list ranking player there. That is Juan Pardo Ming is looking to add that tally to get another title. He has 4. He leads. He is only behind Artur Mortarizian in the position Have you seen the show? Did you watch that? Do you watch F1 at all, or have you seen
Yeah, I
like this
love
show?
F1. The F1 show got me into F1.
Okay, so I have not seen that show, which everyone talks about, which I'm definitely gonna watch here. That's like on my next on my list. But what about the new Netflix show where they put nice, they hit the jack there and then does take it down.
That's a great race. I
Senna.
was
Have you
wondering.
seen Senna?
Yeah, I've watched Senna.
I
Yeah,
just
I
watched.
like all of those things. I mean, I grew up, my dad works in NASCAR, so racing, all of these things. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not a huge NASCAR fan. I play like NASCAR DFS, and so that's kind of fun to help me sweat it. But yeah, I like pretty much all those racing documentaries, movies. You know, I love them. I get it. And obviously now doing the virtual horse racing kind of fulfills that a little bit too. But yeah, you got to watch Drive to Survive. I mean, especially the first season before Max became what Max is now. Like Max Verstappen is just the best in the world at driving these. And even during COVID, I had a rig set up where I was doing iRacing. So I was racing like the virtual sim, and Max would come on there and race, and he would instantly break all the records right away. It was just so cool. But his first few years, he wasn't that dominating. He was like the guy really talented who was reckless, and then he is still a bit reckless, but now we would just say he's really aggressive and amazing, right? It's funny how like that line is skewed. It's like people used to ask me, am I addicted to poker? And it's like, well, I'm winning, so I'm obsessed. But
right.
addiction and obsession, they're the same thing, I mean, no matter what I'm doing, I'm all in, whether it was
Yeah.
coaching football, doing DFS, now you know, crypto and Web3 environments. It's
Yep.
like,
Yeah, it's a good way to operate. It's like there's different schools of thought. Do you want to do a little of everything, or do one thing well, or two things well? And I think there's arguments for that. Also, what your personality type is, but generally, doing one thing really well is a good strategy, or to be focused completely. I think that sort of works out more profitable and better. I was bringing up. I just saw. So I haven't seen that show. I've gotten a little more in F1. I've gone to Miami races. I went to
mhm,
Vegas. I've done a few. Now, it doesn't super interest me, but similar to
yeah,
Moneyball, right? Like finding, like when you start realizing about the intricacies, or even golf. I didn't used to like golf, and it's like you start realizing like what it takes, right, to be the difference in how you can, how good these guys really are at
mhm.
this stuff. And I think once you start getting in that show, I found that we watched that. My wife and I, she's Brazilian, and I thought that I'd not heard of that guy actually, which
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
like in the whole history, but now I feel like I really understand F1. Like I've gone through, read about it, I understand how it works, and that show was, I thought it was very well done. It didn't get the best reviews. Nine
yeah,
seven off, just stepping into it here. I don't think he's
yeah.
gonna.
Just to lead out, I'm the chip leader, force you to have a hand type thing.
Yeah, Queen Jack, just enough comfortability here, and
Perfect. Yeah, you're
um,
so happy right now, even with the jack of clubs. I mean, he probably doesn't have the ace of clubs just because, like we were talking about earlier, with this short stack, he would have just put me all in. So I would have felt really happy calling off here. Now, as he checks, you can pretty much kind of see, all right, he probably was bluffing, leading. But yeah, the F1 thing, it's like a rich man's game for sure. On my honeymoon this year, we actually went to F1 in Barcelona. And even though I like it, I like the show, it's not the best sporting event to go to.
yeah,
F1, you're sitting in one turn, there's like 10, 12 turns. So half the race, you're watching it on a monitor, trying to figure out what's going on. But I do enjoy the vibes. I like the smell of gasoline, burnt
yeah,
rubber, like those types of things are kind of ingrained in me growing up. Like my uncle was a big racer at the local track, so I'd go watch him, stuff like that. And obviously, like I said, my dad used to fly around with Dale Earnhardt in his private jet. Now he works for Richard Childress Racing.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, another hand there from Come to Brazil, where just took a shot. You can see he's going for it today. Doesn't get
Yeah.
to win that, as Katsu does pick it up, and again Jacks. This time the short stack got away with a nice fold. Ace Jack suitor ran into kings, and he didn't get busted. This hand to me, ace five off. This one's always tricky when you're like closing the action. The hand I like the fold, right?
That's a great fold. Because like I'm just always like, well, Matt says I got to call. I know that like his range is super tight here, so the ace five off definitely okay. It's just you think about like, all right, I know his range is super tight, but ace five off still plays really straightforward, right? Like I hit an ace, I'm still probably ahead of like his nines through kings. Obviously I'm going to get stacked off against some higher aces, but he still should have some broadways too. So it's just like it's almost impossible to fold there, but it's okay, especially like if we talked about earlier, if this guy's a wreck or whatever, you probably do want to make folds like that because you
Yeah.
want to limit the amount of complex decisions you have down the road. Like if you're a really good player, you call there because you can fold if you face a two barrel on a high Broadway or ace board where, a normal player is just like, well, I have top pair, I have to call type thing. So definitely gets some tricky spots. I've definitely leaned that way. Even working with solvers and stuff, there's a lot of times where it wants you to call with like third and fourth pair where you block a backdoor flush a lot of times. And it's just like, man, people just really aren't bluffing these spots enough. So I'm just going to cut that small equity gain that the solver says I get, which really might be a net loss if you looked at the actual population and stuff. It's funny. I watched a lot of NCB videos, and it's man, it's so interesting. The new age, it's like a whole different ball game. I feel like part of the reason why I play poker a lot less is because I understand that the new age and the younger generation, even my buddies who do play full time, like Peters and Shannon, like everyone is
Yeah.
studying so much, and it's like after spending 10, 15 years in the game, it's not really like something that I really want to do. And so I've definitely understood that the window in poker, at least for me, is closing a bit. It's a young man, young obsessed game. And it's always fun to, try new things, new challenges, et cetera, as well.
For sure. Yeah, but it's hard to pass up some of these mains and
Oh,
like
I
the
mean,
the WSOP, go to Vegas and
yeah.
play and stuff. But yes, to make it for like a full time living where you're grinding all the stops, all the circuits with all the best players, it is tough. But I think this is sort of where people get their flowers. This is a mixed group today. We see some a bit more unknown, but also some of the best. And yeah, I mean, look, at the same time, that's why it's cool because you're not gonna, you still can, right? Like if you drop yourself in here, middle of the stack, like I mean, like you're not. I don't know how big a deficit. Like I always think about that too myself.
Yeah.
Like I know guys are playing great and they're doing some cool stuff, but look, it's at the end of the day, it's poker, it's fun,
Yeah,
and it's
I'm highly confident. I mean, I'm
yeah,
just saying that to the viewer, like my spots, my analysis might be not top notch, like it might not fit in line with the exact GTO. As we get to the final table, you can sim all this stuff, I think that's the coolest thing. And I do love data. So like no matter what I'm doing, I love data. And so like even as I got more into poker just this past summer, and then obviously I played all the GG events. I just love the site. And I really hope that they can become more legalized in America where I don't really just have to go to Mexico to play. Like I'm hoping that their purchase of WSOP, all these different things can get them back in the market. I do miss when the whole world can just play against each other, right? Like
yeah.
I think that's
It,
another thing
it
about being an American is it's
It
tough.
is crazy to think if they flicked it on and they were like, you know what, back pre 2011 Black Friday, California, Florida, Texas, Nevada, everything is just
Shit.
like go. Like, how big would it be? It would
Yeah,
probably
it's
be. I
so
mean,
huge now.
yeah,
Like even looking like,
yeah,
man, when I played the GG main schedule, I think it was like 9 or 10K in buy-ins, and it turned into 13, 14K once I rebuilt the main. But I mean, that is so fun to be able to play like 3 1500s in a day plus the 5K main event. Like to be able to play all those tournaments, yeah, to think about like if the whole world, I mean, poker is way bigger than when we came up. And it's insane because a lot of people were like, oh, the window's closing, whatever. But the amount of people playing poker and the poker buy-ins is
yeah.
still rising. I think COVID helped a lot with that, but also there's a huge resurgence.
Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, I mean, and again, there's new people coming in, so it's like yes, there's some great players and whatnot, but there's also a lot of people coming from.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think the biggest difference is like the ranges, right? Like the charts. People just like the fundamentally weakest players aren't super weak because they're
Yeah.
realizing like certain things you just can't do, and
Yeah,
like
we
they've cut
came
that
up
out.
playing against guys who would play
Yeah,
King Six offsuit and stuff,
right.
and that is why the game is like it's a much higher level. Yeah, I mean, people just aren't making pre-flop mistakes. I mean, they're making a lot of post-flop mistakes, maybe sizing errors. A lot of people are probably calling off too much. But yeah, the fundamentals, it's a whole different ballgame. I think even the past few years, my fundamentals got way better. Once I started studying a lot more and started seeing, cutting out some spots this year specifically, the range changes so much as you approach the money. And then once you're in the money, and then there's tools where, if there's 15% or less people, 15% of the field left, your ranges are going to be a lot different than say 30%. And so I think just this year studying, that's pretty much where I've improved my play the most is kind of tightening up as you get deeper or knowing when to take advantage of how other people should be tight there. And so I think that's the new skill game is going deep. How to approach the bubble is so important, and then how to approach the final table bubble, and then the final table. And I think in my intuitive style, that was always really good for me because you do have to use a lot of intuition and kind of guess on what types of ranges these guys are going. Like we were talking about the rec guy, who we didn't know a lot about. And we could definitely say after watching him, he's going to be pretty tag, straightforward. He hasn't really raised. So, like, if he raised post flop or even pre flop, I'm going to think like he's very, very strong, especially after we've seen him just flat jacks, just flat ace queen in some spots that you might not have.
Yeah,
So, those are just little things.
for sure. For sure, ace 10 suited under the gun here. Juan with a big stack, and this is again not multi-way.
Yeah.
It is going to be a spot where he does call. It does kind of matter if there's other people in there. 8-6 off, not the strongest hand, but does flop a gut shot here, and the
Yeah.
ace 10 has a very strong nut flush draw. So see if he's going to want to pot control or bet. He does bet.
Yeah, 25% is pretty good. I mean, we can call, we're never folding. So betting kind of small is kind of good, especially keeping in middle pairs because a lot of times we're going to barrel. And then obviously when we hit the ace, we're going to barrel.
Yeah. The ace 10 suited, getting more likely to a lockup on this hand, and that size it's going to end that. You can see a pretty international group today. Want to let us know in the world where you're watching from. Hope you're having a great holiday and a great new year here. We will be again Tuesday back on. No week off here. Last week we're off Christmas Eve, but today, bringing the new year, we do have a show, and of course next week we will have one to start out. What about travel plans coming up, Mike? What about you poker wise? Any series, anything before the WSOP?
Now that I'm living in Vegas, I'll play some stuff here. I actually didn't even play the win main this time, which is like insane to think about, but I've been trading a lot, especially meme coins, stuff like this in Web3, and I just feel like the opportunity there is so huge. So I've been doing that pretty heavily. But I mean, I always get the itch. My thing is once I pop, I don't stop for a while. So I usually wait till the main event. I mean, till WSOP. Like this year I was on my honeymoon, so I only played the win main, then the WSP main. And then I got the itch and played basically till the GG main, like we discussed. But travel plans, no. I mean, we just got a puppy, so we're gonna be hanging out, training the puppy for a bit. It's kind of cool. My job, I can get to work from home. I don't have to travel, but I always loved the Florida series, especially when I was on the East Coast. I would never miss that. I think those are some of the best tournaments in the world.
Yeah.
And then LA tournaments have kind of dried up a little bit. There's not really big ones there. And so I kind of got FOMO on the 25K and the WSP in the Bahamas. Like I definitely got some FOMO and wanted to go play that, but just a whole thing. And I approach it like if I'm not in the grind mindset to play, then I don't play. Like if I'm not willing to for me, it's really important to wake up, eat breakfast, do a yoga session, eat another thing, work out, then play. Like that's how I approach the big tournaments when I show up. And so if I'm not really willing to do that for the tournament and including the studying stuff, I don't play. That's kind of what I do. And so the WSP to me is always that special thing that I just never miss. I just enjoy the grind. Obviously living here now makes it a lot easier, especially.
Where did you
So
move from last?
I was living in North Carolina. I spent 2 years there basically during COVID to get my real estate license because my mom's company, she runs a real estate company, property management. She handles over like 400 properties. So I did that for 2 years. And then while I was home, I was actually mining Bitcoin, mining Ethereum. In our basement, I had set up 10 Bitcoin miners and I had like 4 computers, each that had 6 graphics cards. I think I had 40 3070 graphics cards towards the end of Ethereum mining. So pretty heavy in that. And I think 2017 is when I built my first one. I just saw all these people printing so much money on YouTube, and I was like, what is this? And obviously, I've been through a lot of really, really high highs and really, really low lows. I mean, I lost probably 2/3 of my net worth on Luna, which was a coin in the Web3 space. So that was an interesting time. But went on nice little DFS spree a few years ago too. I won the DraftKings Golf World Championship, won a bunch of
Wow.
in football. Like I was just checking my DraftKings because the past 2 years I've had losing years on DraftKings. I mean, DFS is very tough. But I was looking at my career and it's still plus 500K. So I'm pretty proud of that. But like
How would you
poker,
compare that to poker? How intense is that in terms of work and analysis?
well, I think like it's even more solved in some ways than poker now because we can run sims. Like now, if you're not running sims and doing all these things, you pretty much shouldn't play. And if you're still just putting them in by hand, you're probably a huge dog. And so I would think that it's even tougher now. And football, baseball, I still really enjoy because you can be contrarian and you don't necessarily like if you play basketball and you're not using the models and the projections, like you just can't win. And so the time devotion versus profit kind of that window is shrinking. So it's more of a hobby than say when I started in 2014 at it, which I was kind of building my own models and they weren't as good as other people's, but at least they could compete. Now I'm just forced to use like establish the run in football and obviously I tweak things here and there to get contrarian and unique, but still the fundamental stuff, it's very similar to poker in that the fundamentals, all the good players are using the tools which make you a lot stronger. And I would say it's probably tougher. I think it's probably easier to make a living in poker than DFS if you're starting one today. I mean,
Yeah.
live poker is still really, really good. I mean, you go show up at a lot of these live tournaments, I think that your expectation is still really high. It's just when we talk about like a tournament like this, a $10,000 tournament against the best in the world where we saw 150 entrants, there might be 15 recreational players, maybe 20, and there might be some rich VIPs or whatever, but you're talking about every single spot, every single hand, you're going to be challenged, at a very highly intellectual way.
It's a great point. Yeah, it is cool. Poker is amazing though too. The social aspect and live and getting to
Yeah,
meet people, and I'm sure you met some of your close friends. I can say myself
all
too.
of them.
People I've met, and
Yeah,
just so it's great to it's about 20 years now playing, and cool to see people still doing it or doing other things that
yeah.
still
It's
kind of
cool.
play.
Like running into you after the main event, we had both just busted, but we're both like if it was 15 years ago, we would have probably been so pissed that we couldn't talk to each other. But I
Yeah,
feel like now it's like, oh, I'm still a human being. I'm still living. I'm still very lucky. I have a great life. And
yeah,
so you definitely, the experience comes into play too. I think it's very important, especially like tournaments like WSP Main, even the WSP and how I approach that. A lot of it is about rest and not playing every single tournament, taking some days off, showing up late, maybe, just to play less on day one. Here we got
yeah.
aces against 7-8 suited. And Cup
Ooh,
to Brazil has been pretty aggro. It'll be
yeah.
interesting.
This is going to look like queens or jacks for him. He's 7-8 suited. He's been in there with some modest holdings. This
Yeah.
this could be
Oh,
a
well, he
5-6 million chip pot, right?
I was
I guess.
expecting a raise and maybe a 3-bet, but now,
Okay.
oh,
Wow. Didn't shoot it up. I guess 7-8
yeah,
suited. That's sort of the definition textbook. Want to check back, right? That hand, even though
yeah.
it's just a pretty hand to get to flop and top set, losing to only flushes. I guess the check back hands do consist of a decent amount of suited hands, but obviously
Yeah.
aces with top sets feeling very good. Sees a bet.
It's probably okay to raise here as well. Ugly. Depending on the bet size, we're probably still calling with the aces. I mean, and if he bets like 300,000, it makes it a lot tougher on us, you know, but we still have 9 outs, right?
Yeah.
Well, definitely don't think we bet. We can bluff catch. If Come to Brazil bets the river, and we could even talk ourselves into a fold. A lot of times you would check back there with some mediocre spades and maybe go for some thin value on the river. What are we going to do, Andrew Wilson? You're my guy.
He is debating. This is
Wow,
sort of
long.
frustrating, but you also realize you are going to have a winner here a lot.
Yeah.
And Come to Brazil says that's enough showdown. I'll check it down. Not going to get the win, but Andrew Wilson does pick up that to over 3 million. So 3 big stacks here, 4.6, 3.1, 2.7. And I guess my guy 2 there rocking the Russian flag with 2.1, also healthy. Couple shorties. The short stacks have done a decent job avoiding some coolers where they were like 8s folding. Another ace jack suited, ran the kings, got out of the way, so they didn't just mail it in. And as it turned out, would have been in bad shape. As Juan Ming has been in there, he's been mixing it up. Again, the most experienced player here, second all time on that GGMillions list. Crazy stats. He is got the queen 6 off.
And to add, like, to your point, when you are short and you do get re-raised, you can oftentimes want to force it, right? A lot of times you just want to try to double up, you know, and so it does take a lot of discipline and smarts to just remain patient, fold, knowing you're behind, and they've done a pretty good job of that. Let's see how many. There's 4 hands left in this level, right? This is another thing I love about GG is that you play a certain amount of hands for each level. It's sometimes I hate the fact that they readjust to 100 big blinds, but then like when you're short stacked, you absolutely love it. But it definitely prolongs the tournament a lot, especially in like the single day ones like the 150 or the 500s or whatever. When you get to the final table, it's like, man, it can make the final tables go a lot longer. But it's very good if you think you're the best player because playing deeper is something you should want.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I guess it's all relative. Jack 7 suited, tell me about your thoughts there. Small blind, flat in.
Yeah, I would rather 3-bet, really. It seems to me like a 3-bet or fold hand, but especially since we have him covered, right? I mean, he's going to have a pretty wide range on the button. We're the chip leader. I prefer when I'm the chip leader with these types of hands, I'm going to put the pressure on other people. I'm not going to look to play a post flop hand with Jack 7 suited, but that's just my personal preference.
Yeah, and this is an example, even a hand as weak as Jack 8 that gets to then, instead of folding, call, and then you lose the additional chips instead of potentially just ending the hand there. But again, Come to Brazil, very confident in his post-flop play. He's done a good job. He is our chip leader as it stands today. He's got 4s on the button
And
against
ace 10 under the
aces,
gun.
and ace 10 off, going to open.
Wow, and this guy's going to have 9 bigs. That's going to be interesting. I mean, the 4s probably fold here. Well, I guess not. I think that the cutoff would probably be like 6s for a flat, and even then, it's really close. Pablo, we shouldn't expect his range very wide. He's got 2 shorter stacks. We would expect Like this is probably the bottom of his range. Obviously some suited broadways. But this guy's gonna go all in, and then we're gonna get probably 2 faults. Seems like there's 908 in the middle, calls 450. Yeah, you are getting 2-1, but I don't think we're gonna play good enough 2-1 against this guy's range. If we had ace-10 suited, it would probably be a reluctant call, but even then, you might find a way. Fours, I'd be very surprised if this guy calls. I mean, he has played pretty loose aggressive, though.
Problem is, too, then you start looking at if it's a flip, the extra money in the middle, though, you're calling to win what you're winning, but it's not a flip. Aces wake up. Fours need to spike that. Running hearts available. Needs now a 4-4 only, or we will still go on 8-handed, hour, 10 minutes in. That is going to be a clean run out and going to make things a little bit tighter as one of the short stacks double up. And nice hand. Best hand wins. Nice hand there as we are going to go and still go on again. 4-4. Can't afford the call, but tricky. I thought he was going to call. I think it's close. But that's the problem. That's the exact problem. He also has chip leader. You don't really want to be like calling off, speculative spots, and then that does add up. So there is a nice moment here. It gets aces now, ace king against a hand that he's going to force folds, and just goes ahead, not ace king suited, decides not to induce, just rips it in. A7 off, won't have much to think about here.
Yeah, pretty
and
straightforward
Pablo,
hand.
One of the 2 short stacks. No one that short right now, though. Really, the two shorties, and then everyone else has enough chips, as we see. And no big hands here, as no one has a pair remaining. No one has an ace remaining. No one even has a king 5 off, the highest card. And this man is fired up. He's inspired. 1.6 million. King 5, Pablo gonna rip it in. Short stack on short stack. Violence. First in, so powerful.
Yeah, king high against a random hand. Pretty straightforward there. Those are the times where you're just jamming, like, please don't call. Like, but something, I mean, you might get calls with queen jack suited or something there as well, where you might be a slight favorite, but usually your hand's not going to play too well if you get called. Interesting spot here. Are you going to 3-bet or you're just going to flat? Well, we get a 3-bet.
Oof, king queen. These ones hurt, right? King queen.
Wow,
oh, just
snap
instant
4-bet.
and snap call. All right, cards on their back. It's that time. New Year's plans. People got dinners and things to do. King queen suited is in there and needs help. Doesn't get that sweaty turn. Will Andrew send him to the next year? It is going to be. That is a knockout for Mr. Wilson. There's no paint or. You needed a king or a queen, right? That was it. He had 6 outs, one to come, 86% clean. Wilson on a mission there, going to knock him out. Good game, golfer claps, and we are now starting to move as chips are consolidating, and that is your new chip leader, 5 million, very healthy 5 million stack there with Wilson.
That's my guy.
Fives. That is your guy. You said you kind of called his deal today, and he is now in another spot where 2 playable hands, blind on blind versus the 1 and 2 chip stacks.
Usually with these types of hands, they're just so straightforward. It's usually set, second pair, or fold. You're really, I mean, now that we have them covered, you're still not really looking. I probably would just fold this flop if the guy c-bet. I mean, it's really tough. You usually have to call 1, especially with the backdoor straight possibilities. We're just playing chip equity. We're always calling here. But this guy's been pretty aggro. A lot of times you got to think about how often the guy's going to 2-barrel or 3-barrel, because so many cards are going to come out above 5s that this guy should be betting that we're going to have to fold even if we're ahead. Might get the showdown. Can't really see come to Brazil bluffing big here. Andrew will be interesting if he tries a block bet. I want to see a block and a raise. But check. Yep. Andrew Wilson steamrolling. The English are on the rail, drinking, chanting, loud, Very bolsterous. I can hear them.
Yeah, it is. They got one of the better rails. Brazil too. Those are up there. Canada gets rowdy too. There's
America, we're so
people.
boring.
It is on. I would say that's true on the podium for support. I mean, Brazil's amazing. I feel like there's Brazil. It's like word gets out in Brazil. If someone makes a final table, there's people that come on and like they literally like are in town. They aren't even poker supporters, and they'll come and support, or someone's friend. They're like, oh, come over and watch. I mean, they put costumes on. The noise. It really is. It really is a passionate country and fans. But I was saying that but I thought that Senna was an amazing. I thought it was really well done. You know, that was the most expensive Netflix doc that
Wow.
they are actually Netflix. I want to say the total spend was the most they've ever spent, which is kind of crazy. Like out of
What
nowhere,
they spend?
it was 170 million. 170 million.
It's a lot.
Because like Game of Thrones, the second was like something 130 million. Game of Thrones like 100 million a season. So they put 170 in that 6 episodes.
Wow.
I guess the cars are expensive, or like what they were, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
racing in general, track time, cars, all of these things are very expensive for sure. I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time is Days of Thunder. You ever seen that? Tom Cruise. Oh man, put that one on. It's an old school movie, but I just loved it growing up. It was one of my favorites.
But I'm gonna pull that up, the trailer. Yeah,
Full
Tom Cruise. He's
trickle.
really been in some. Oh, they're making a Days of Thunder too.
No, don't
mean,
tease me like that, Jeff.
I mean,
Come
literally,
on.
I just typed it in. It says Days of Thunder 2 teaser trailer 2025 Tom Cruise.
Come on.
The first thing that popped up.
Let's go.
It says a teaser. I don't know if that's if it's definite. Maybe it's like not a for sure thing yet. But yeah, that would be. I do know the name of the. I mean, I just can't remember. I don't think I have seen it, but yeah, all those movies, Talladega Nights,
watch that.
Yeah. Well, we are here with the ladies. Come to Brazil, man. This guy is on fire. And Queen 10 suited, you can only get so 7. What's he? 8 blinds, 7.5.
It's probably blinds. A jam, 7-handed.
Or 7. That is not the hand you want to see, and he's not going to like to see that.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, he raises to where he'll have 3 blinds. So if this guy goes all in and someone else went all in, he might elect to fold. It's always interesting, these spots where people leave themselves some fold equity in case 2 or 3 other stacks get involved. And I'm always wondering, well, what are the circumstances that it would take to get this fold?
Well, that is a optimistic flop. That goes from being in really bad shape to having a chance. A heart would do the case and basically make that's it. All the hearts. There it is. It is needed. Now a jack adds to that. Jack or a heart, and the river is a jack the hard way.
Hello.
Ace 8-3. That is dirty. And the jack's being shown. There was some less outs than would have thought. And come to Brazil, not loving that against the Argentine flag. One of the big rivalries, Argentina. And I guess actually coming to Brazil, his name's Brazil, but he's got the Canada flag. I guess
he looks like he's playing out.
I don't think he is actually Brazilian, but yeah, that was then. Here we go, aces. What a run out. And then talk about the adrenaline there to get aces right after hitting the Queen 10 suited at Queens all in. And he's thinking, is there ever a spot to flat?
I would love to see a flat here. No, I love it because you're flatting so much of your range. When you 3-bet, you're getting so many folds. Your hand plays so strong. I definitely would be okay with flatting here. Obviously, with like hands like kings and queens, I probably never would. But when you're top, and you just want to try to extract as much value as possible, and keeping aces, even the solver, wow. Well, looks like it's, I mean, here, just call too, like we don't have to jam, like call, let this guy do some more stuff.
What? So let me. What hand would he just call after that action there? I guess.
Yeah, it's always aces.
Like but maybe even so, is it almost better like the hand you get like ace-6 off in there and you just call? Like maybe they're done with it, right? But like maybe you get one more bet out of it, or
people are sick. They'll always find a way. That's why you got to keep them in, even if it is obvious you have what you have. Like, there's so many times that people can tell themselves a story once they get a piece of the flop and they're getting 2-1, or they have a good barrel off hand. Let's say it comes like 3-4-7 or something. Now the guy has a gut shot and he's thinking, well, this gives me more equity to bluff. So
yeah.
I'm kind of keen on flatting there. It's kind of cool. The 3-bet though, it netted him a lot more chips than just flatting out of the big blind. I mean, that's why even shoving is not that bad, because you're picking up 500 uncontested, pretty much saving yourself the possibility of getting sucked out with the ICM implications. So you can't really say that's a huge mistake either.
Yeah.
These aces limp is very nice.
This is the aces are getting handed out. The record was like 11, and now I mean I'm not sure where we're at with aces today, but at least 5, I think 4 for sure, 5, 6, and 5-6 suited. This is maybe a bit tempting to peel, but if you're gonna, again, similar to 7-8 suited where Come to Brazil didn't raise, he is gonna call and get a pretty dry board there. Top set again arriving. And a 5-6 suited going to be pretty unimpressed with that board.
I mean, we saw this guy flat with the Queen Jack of Diamonds on the 3-spade board, so I was getting some thoughts in my head of, well, we got some backdoor draws, can play position.
He does find ways to get into the pot. Does find a way. Days of Thunder only 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.1 IMDb. Interesting. I feel like that's like was a big title, a big hit.
Oh yeah, probably banked. I mean, that movie's at 99.9. I think Rotten Tomatoes has that one wrong.
You have is Days of Thunder is that are you seeing that there looks like there's a 2, or is that not a thing?
I didn't even look. I just took your word for it.
Because to be fair, I looked up Senna and there was some talk about a trail of season 2, which they ended very clearly, like not a multiple season show. I'm pretty sure, right? I mean, how that ended.
Yeah, I mean, what? Yeah, sequel's in the works. After reviving Top Gun, he's gonna do it.
Yeah, that was a success. That went well. Sequels having a comeback. Sequels now maybe with AI and different things now. Rounders too. There's
that Top Gun movie. That second one was badass. And my buddy Jesse, his brother works in the State Department, so he had a couple friends out here golfing. We golfed, and they actually fly the F-35s. And I was asking him, like, could they really do that stuff? And they're like, yeah. I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, the fact that Tom Cruise, I've seen those videos where he does his own stunts in Mission Impossible, like driving the motorcycle off the cliff. I mean, I still don't even believe, is that even real? Because that is.
I think it's real. I mean, hanging up the side of planes, like I get really afraid of heights too. Like I've flown 5 continents. I don't let it keep me grounded, but I definitely have a fear of heights, and all that stuff freaks me out.
Exactly. I'm not like to the point where I won't fly, but it's not like I'm not. I remember as a kid when I'm like 5 and 6, 7 years old, I'm like, this is takeoff. It's like, I love it. It's so fun. It was the most cool thing. And then like at some point it's like, all right, you know what? I kind of am more of a homebody at the end of the day. Don't mind just kind of being around and less adventure, but yeah, I mean, that guy's nuts, dude. Like,
you gotta hand it to him. Even if you got some bad things to say about him, you at least gotta say kudos for doing all that, risking, your own. Especially once you become a high net worth individual, it's really easy to say, "All right, you go do it, stunt guy." It's like we, the viewer, aren't gonna know. Like,
and now with AI and stuff too, it's even a lot of the stuff. I wonder how much of that they gotta really do.
We're gonna get some action here for sure.
Pretty looking hands.
Yeah, everybody's got a playable hand except for the deuce 3. Wow, good fold. That's a fold that almost no one makes that I've seen is a good fold.
Which one?
Yeah, he had Jack Queen suited, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Ben CBD actually covered this on a video I watched about, I don't know, 2 months ago. And it was basically just how buried your range is once the guy calls versus under the gun, because the under the gun range is pretty tight as well. And I mean, that's just really tough to do. You know, Queen Jack suited is just a great, beautiful looking hand. So
Yeah.
he avoided a lot of ICM disaster. Obviously, it might have worked out for him because he actually hit the top pair, but that's a great fold. That makes me think that this guy, yeah, I'm not going to classify him as a wreck anymore, because a wreck would definitely just flat there. We have to open. Wow.
This has been a pretty interesting final table. I'd say we've seen some moxie, we've seen a little bit of spice. Also, it's taken a bit to get moving. We did see a few knockouts. Now we are still 6-handed. Going to start the giveaways at 4. Remind everyone to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, close the year out with some positivity on the GG Millions. We got some big updates for you coming, and I've pretty excited, man. I know you said, Mike, you haven't really saw the stream with Phil Locke. Hope you get to tune in more. These are great episodes to review and look at, but there's going to be some pretty big changes all around, graphics, and also some cool things for the audience to be a part of, as well as the players I think are going to like as well. Not just say big things coming very soon here, as we see again a similar spot before with that ace-5 and ace-queen. This board's interesting where ace-10 plays ace-4 does not, as ace-10 is the best hand. But yeah, man, love to have you on again. Love to have you in the future in Miami. You got to come. We'll do the podcast live, man. Got the studio done here finally, so that'd be fun.
Yeah, because like literally that Horse venture I've talked about, it's called Photo Finish Live, and I would definitely love to come on the podcast to talk about that. Just like GG has the betting in the client, they also have betting on the horses. And I never even was into horse racing, but it was just one of these Solana NFTs that I bought that actually ended up crushing. Like the guy who designed it was a creative director for Madden for 8 years. And then they partnered with the Churchill Downs and Kentucky Derby. And so it's very similar to poker and DFS, which is why I found my way to it, because, you know, I mean, I actually have studs that get paid to breed. So all the horses that are bred are created by the users. And then the way it's set up is it's kind of like a Web3 revenue share where all of the rake goes to their token crown. And so I just looked at it like, man, imagine I could have been on the ground floor of like PokerStars or DraftKings and got part of the revenue before it blew up. And so I've been pretty invested in that. And it's been pretty much the only NFT that really stood the test of time for me, and then actually turned into a great game. They have an app in the App Store and stuff. Yeah. So that's something that I do pretty religiously other than just trade and stuff. So that's something that I'm always willing to share.
That hurts you say about the DraftKings at the ground floor. I had a offer for 1% at the 2013 round from Jason directly, which I sent to like 2 of my sharpest business guys. I was like 26 at the time, and I was like, I know this is the winner. This is like everyone's doing fantasy. Trust me, this and that. It's like 2 of my best contacts from strong. Like, yeah, it was a 25 million valuation. They're like, yeah, they're like, we think it's not sufficient. And
25K for a 1 ball then?
250.
Oh, 250.
But it was like, yeah, so it was 3 of us were going to split one. And like, then they were just like, nah. And I was like, you know what? Maybe they know what they're talking about. And that was, so that hurt. But Prize Picks, I got in that one. Prize Picks, I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's doing pretty well. I got in there like 5 years ago. And that
my buddy is starting a Web3 venture that I might join up on.
Web3 is
I basically get to do what I do now. And he basically would want me to create like a blue chip portfolio of sorts, you know?
Yeah. Worth talking
But
about.
I would love to. I mean, I've never, I did work in real estate for a few years. I coached football for like 5 years, but I didn't get paid to do that. That was just volunteer. And I'm at the point in my life, about to start a family and stuff. So I wouldn't mind taking a job, and I definitely would want to do something that I really am passionate about, like
Yeah.
Web3. It would need to be in crypto or Web3, I think. Maybe trading, but I just don't think I would like the trading lifestyle. Like it's fun to kind of do all this. I feel like you've been so sharp on a lot of your investments. I know you got a lot going on. You did some stuff with Phil and other things, just kind of hearing through the grapevine. What's
Yeah.
like been your best one?
Certainly Prize Picks is
Yeah.
definitely the best one, which is sort of a redemption for DraftKings, but that's not closed out yet. Although, I mean, yeah, I think that's like, again, there's always risk, regulation, and other stuff and
Yeah.
whatever. But I think that's going to be that'll be my like mint blue chip. Hopefully, knock on.
That's our hope for poker getting back in the United States too. I mean, no matter what you think about the election shows that we're going to deregulate a lot of things. And I think that most of us in the poker community are kind of libertarian by nature. We're kind of like, if you're not hurting anybody, why can't it be legal? Especially when you have things like the lottery and other things. I think like prize picks, DraftKings, virtual horse racing, even ice, like coin launches and stuff. I think it's going to be a very good landscape for all that. I'm actually really happy about that in the United States because my fear was that these things would go offshore, which they've been forced to do, and then we lose the innovation that's made our country just what it is to begin with. And so I'm
Yeah,
really kind of excited about the landscape regarding like gambling, poker, all these things for the future of the game because poker is such an amazing game. I think if we could find some ways where we could police, the integrity a little bit better, especially online, it would be even bigger. I don't know exactly how to do that. I know GG's kind of taken more of a stance and kind of eliminated. I saw they had a really big disqualification in is it 25K? Uh, I remember Bryn got like fourth or fifth in it and got a pay jump. And I think Patrick was at the final table too. So I mean, I think doing that is really important, especially for online poker. A lot of people can sit there and even if they're on another computer, run the sims for every single spot. And that's a huge advantage. Like even
yeah,
the more work I got in there and did, it's like, oh, I could see obvious mistakes I'm making that felt so intuitive and natural. And so if you have that, even if you're running it and learning it, that helps you to become way better when you play live. I feel like I think Chewy might be doing something like this, but creating a tool where you
yeah,
basically play the game and learn all the spots as you play. I mean, like Ali, this is highly speculative that people thought that Ali Imsirovic was doing this, solving and then studying. And he was always one of my toughest opponents on ACR. And obviously, he's had a lot of success live. And I'm always wondering, like, dang, if I would have done that, how much better would you be live? You'd be a lot better.
yeah. That's an interesting topic. And here, Queen 10. Look at this nice little bet that A7 suited is a bit frustrated. Does get a run out where turn the heart draw that had the ace or the I'm sorry, the ace or the heart, and now on the river here, and kind of a cheeky bet, right? It's sort of
Yeah.
frustrating
It's great
because it's
sizing
like,
versus this type of hand.
yeah, if you're prepared to catch some heat and call, though, I mean, this is the interesting one. The running jack, not too worried about the jack. Decides he probably has the best hand. Gets I love these river bets where they're small, like 20%, 25. It's like really puts people in a tough spot, like if they want to bluff or if they're hero calling or
Yeah.
even just to pay off. So
And when you bet this size and you do get raised, to me, it's almost impossible to fold. Like you just call because a lot of good players are going to see the small bet as weakness, and they're going to incorporate some raises, to get you off your hand. So it's going to be interesting to see if this guy's smart enough to actually put the pressure back on him, even though he does have ace high, which some people might lend to more of a calling hand. But really, what you have to try to figure out is, do I have more jacks than him? And I didn't even see the turn action. Did it just go check call by the queen 10 and the a7 suited bet? Because if they bet the turn, then they have a jack more often than not. And so now it would kind of look, like they could have a jack if they did bet the turn.
yeah,
Great
I
fold.
think on the turn was Okay, so he wasn't sure if. He said not sure if. On the turn, I'm going to tell you, was check and was a big bet, I think,
Yeah.
from Come to Brazil.
Yeah.
So
So-
that was what happened there. Yeah, very interesting. Come to Brazil now, who started out chip leader. He is in second. Juan Pardo up to 2.3. Pablo shorter. We got a few, kind of 3 different games going here. It was a 400,000 bet on the turn from.
Ooh, hello.
Man, anyone got the aces count out there? What do we got? 6?
It's
I think
got
we're
to
at 6.
be
6
really
or
just
7.
6. It was like
At least
more.
6. A lot of aces. This is the dirty one. Aces to kings. And my man here, he's in purple, friend of GG. He has been super patient. He's got to be feeling like this is the nuts as it should be. And Juan Pardo under the gun, aces just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right that man,
3x.
second all time, should have that type of.
You think he calls or ships it?
I think it's going to be a small re-raise. I think it's going to be to 700. This is what I've noticed at these. There's almost never flats. It's always like re-click it back at the final table. I think there is a point in time for that, as you mean, different stages. But I just think you just accomplish a lot by doing that, and you give people rope to kind of go off, and then also you get the pot up, and it just I don't ever see anyone flat anymore, which is interesting. But aces to kings, cooler has happened. The 9, 10, 4, paint for a sweat, no 7, 2 outs, and 4.55%. No paint, no sweat.
That's the worst feeling.
That is
by the
just,
way.
just absolute.
This is poker's worst setup, and it just always feels horrible, no matter when it happens. But when it happens in a spot like this, you definitely go straight to woe is me. I mean, you got unlucky, that's all there is to it. Both people played their hands well, and that guy obviously played really well. We watched him, maneuver his stack to get back to a nice, healthy stack, and then kind of get coolered like that and sit on your bike, as Tony would say.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, it's also the worst when you get coolered, and then if you are the one that had the cooler, and then you actually get sucked out onto. That's like the worst, the nasty cooler, and then it gets reversed.
Yeah. All right, Jack 10. This will be interesting. I mean, you at least have to raise, right? This guy folded the ace 9 out of the hijack with the wow. Well, we know that guy's a little tight. Because that's like the 13, 14 big blind range where like Jack 10 suited, I think could be a jam. Definitely raise candidate. Fold. That's tough.
And I'll tell you what, Come to Brazil's burned some time. He's got a minute 12 on that chess clock. What are your thoughts on the chess clock? I love asking the guests. Do you prefer this?
I love it. Yeah, I like it. And for clocks 100% of the time from the beginning of the tournament. Obviously, it's a headache. Most of the dealers don't know how to operate them. A lot of the players don't. But once you get in the money, for sure, have clocks. Like poker, especially nowadays, when you're playing live poker, one of the most frustrating things is when people are tanking. Like whether you're rec or pro, unless you're doing the tanking for a purpose, you're going to hate the person tanking. And so I'm just all for time clocks. I think it makes everything better. And I just enjoy it because I'm more of an intuitive and a field player. Like I'm not always counting combos and stuff, so I don't really take a lot of time. And so that's another reason I like it, is because I usually just kind of play more gut. My subconscious, I think, makes better decisions sometimes than my conscious brain.
Look at the threes showing us a little aggression there, a little spice.
Yeah.
Is nice and ships it in. You saw him play conservatively in a few spots. He just go ahead and put it down, laid it in, and picked it up. That is not what we expect from this player, who has not really shown us that type of aggression with the modest holding there, but does show us that he's got some range and balance. And there's threes again.
Yeah.
Threes are hot.
Pretty standard shove there. You're getting called very almost never. This guy, he's had a lot of playable hands. Ace deuce, you could see that being the chip leader. You can pretty much open so wide. Interesting call. Running the clock.
Queens, ace, deuce. So queens comfortable, king, king. Nice to see that king come. You feel a little
Yeah.
better. It's also a heads up pot. Got to feel solid. Ace, deuce has been in control. Andrew Wilson really shown us that he's going for it today. Putting a lot of
And here he
aggressive
smartly
spots.
shuts down. I mean, anytime we're opening the low aces and we don't really hit a flush draw or a pair, I mean, check is usually the best line. I mean, check give up is pretty standard way to play those types of hands. Here, obviously, smart. It'd be interesting to see what he might think he could bluff, or maybe he wants to try to block again. Yeah. This guy's just gonna have too much good value. He's got a bet now. Maybe he bets like a third or something big. All right, he's back in the driver's seat. He got himself a nice little pot.
3.7 comes in as chip leader, still in the top 3, feeling good. I would say, again, chip leader, a lot of pressure, right? It's like, in a way it's fun, but it's a way, if you go out 5th, 6th, or 8th or something, it's pretty brutal. So as it's gone, I'd say he's done a good job. He's been mixing it up, and he's also I think had a little bit of not been flopping super well. So he's right in there as king jack makes a stand. Ace queen, certainly going to be looking him up. Ace queen. Tell me about this raise, but I always, they're like not all in, but big.
Yeah, I was talking about this earlier. Like, I'd love to see the situations that would equal fold for this guy, because obviously when you're doing these, you leave yourself a little rope in case. That's also interesting, just flat. Like me, I'm always like min clicking there, just getting this guy all in.
King jack, pretty good flop. Top 2, got to fade the 10. Some runners. Oh, no right waiting. Away. Juan Pardo, welcome, number 2 all time, GGMillions. And does he get the dramatic run out? No, not going to be the flip, the script. And that is the D-Nags Devil Eyes there. Running hot is for sure. He says, ha ha. Takes it with a grain of salt. Going to get a nice score there. We're down 2-5. Get ready for those giveaways again. Hit that thumbs up. Be subscribed. Aces. Be ready. Keyword coming. Aces counter. Anyone want to take control? What do we have? 7, 8, 9, probably 7, maybe 8, and a no action aces.
My favorite thing is the Elky dance. We haven't seen the Elky dance, right?
Yeah, the Elky dance is strong.
So
Elky dance is good. The GG, Greg goes all in, getting a lot of love. The GG, a lot of GG. Greg goes all in. He's got some amazing short content. He's done a great job with that.
Yeah, I feel like looking at guys like that Brad guy, Rampage, if you're coming up in poker now, definitely creating content is probably what I would tell almost everyone to do. I feel like if you can create some alternate revenue streams, that's really the best way to make it in the industry. I mean, if you're relying on just playing and winning, it's tough. But if you can create that, and that's definitely one of the things I wish I had done more in my time in poker was, do more stuff like this. I think once I got involved with the virtual horses, I felt obliged, because it's such a small community and I know a lot about it, to kind of share what I know. But when I was in my early 20s poker, I was always just like, I'm just going to make it playing because I'm good enough. I don't need to do all that. But I think that it's really smart, and it's pretty much, no downside other than time.
Yeah, that's true. Ace king suited, tier 1. Deuces, get out of the way.
Smart.
Pablo is not in the position he's used to being in. He is short stack, but 5 left. He has secured himself a 6-figure score, another one.
Do I have Juan too? I have Juan and Andrew.
No,
You have one?
I have Juan and...
Oh, I had Kulov, who's gone.
I think I have Juan and Pablo.
Okay.
And you've got Come To and Andrew?
Okay, Come To. Wow.
Yeah, so it's 6 million, 5.5 to...
We see this a lot more. This is such a cool flop to see. Out of the big blind, a lot of times you lead these smallish flops where you have more of that range than the opening raiser. So it makes sense. You could even do it with hands like 9, 10, or, smaller straight draws. Interesting to see how he navigates the turn that big. Oh, we have to call at least with ace king. I don't see much value in raising.
Yeah, I don't think you can raise, and I don't think you can fold. But all, and that is
Ooh,
not the
the
card
worst
he
card.
wanted. Juan Domingos is Juan Pablo Dominguez. That is correct. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're having an amazing New Year's Eve or New Year's if you already had that in your part of the world. We are coming up on another year in the books. We mentioned it does seem like it goes fast. Having the kids is definitely a benchmark with the birthdays and stuff. That's where I really start being like, this is like, yeah, it's moving. Things are moving. I got a almost 6-year-old, and it's kind of wild.
Wow. Are they playing soccer yet?
Yeah, they my 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old, is just obsessed with soccer. All he says is ball, ball, ball all day long. Ball. It's not
Wow.
necessarily soccer. It's any ball.
Yeah.
Just ball. And
So you think he's gonna? It's always the younger one who's the better athlete anyway. I mean,
I think
after
that's
coaching for so long, that's
I
the
think
general
is that you.
consensus.
That makes sense. I haven't really thought about that. And Andrew's got a tough decision here. You lose the straights, lose the 2 pairs. You have the flush draw that missed. I mean, he does call. You can't blame him. But welcome to Juan's world. Juan is now in command. 6.6 million. Board got scary. Got the perfect run out. Got the perfect bet. And Andrew can't fault him there. I don't know how you're going to ask to fold that with the ace nut flush draw. Make top pair, top kicker against a player capable of betting. So he does go ahead and bang. That is
we would expect if he has like 4s, he could take that line. There's definitely some hands. I wouldn't see him taking that with the 10-9 as a bluffer on the flop. And so I think you see a lot of good players actually taking that lead line with actually very strong hands, where usually when we see that, we kind of think like not very strong. But there was an example, strong. He sized everything perfectly. I was thinking even on the river, maybe size it a little bit down, but because you would expect the guy to have more pairs than aces. But obviously when he has the ace diamonds, you're going to get paid. Another flush draw. This might be an interesting 2-barrel spot where you just think you probably still have the best hand. Protect against some flush draws, but ups to check, and now he's made the best hand.
five, 6 suited, ace 9. Yeah, pretty tough spot, bluffing into a talented player. And he is okay. Gonna go for.
The chat is mad at me. I said soccer instead of football. I mean, might not ever be welcome back on the show. I'm sorry, guys. You're right.
I'm gonna allow it. I'm gonna allow it. To be fair, that's U.S. is one of the only places, and but the thing is, you can't call football in the U.S. right? It doesn't make NFL like the biggest, best, the craziest sport. You can't then just say it like that. Football been an exciting season right now too. A lot going on. I mean,
I'm a Commanders fan, so I'm so stoked. We actually went to the Eagles game in Philly on a Thursday night, and a 6-year-old girl flicked me off just because we were wearing the Washington jersey. I was
green, like, similar to Brazil, a little different type of passion, but the green, they bleed it. They do. It is a passionate place, and that is
all right. Another all in. Come on, ace 9.
And the taxi cab versus ace 9 suited, fair fight. Pablo Silva needs help. Ace 9 in the lead, clean. A heart would chop things up, though. That's
don't heart it.
That's boring if it does. But could it be? 5? Wow. No one makes a pair. No one has a flush. Andrew Wilson, ladies and gentlemen, will send out Mr. Silva, the Brazilian, fresh off a World Series brace in the Bahamas. Congrats to you, man. Happy New Year. Hope to have you on. Also, been getting a lot of people reach out to be on the show. Anyone, I'll say this, people watching, if on the final table you're playing, you're a part of the tournament, please reach out. Love to have people that play in the tournament on, especially the players that are constantly final tabling. So again, love to have any of you on. And again, Mike, we appreciate the time closing out his New Year with us. And where can people best follow you? Is it's Twitter is more active?
Yeah, Mike Sowers with 2 S's on Twitter. And I mainly talk about football, crypto, and virtual horses. So.
Very cool. Virtual horse. How popular is that? Did you notice a spike? Did it go like this and now it's leveled or tanked, or is it kind of steady?
It's chilling. It's faced the same issue that a lot of projects face, where they incentivize early adoption, and then once those incentives kind of run out, now we're to where, like in the beginning, we got Crown for racing, so it offset a lot. For months I was racing. Every single race was a complete free roll. So it'd be $100 race. I'd be getting $100 in crown, and then first could still be 400. And so they basically are shifting, they're lowering the rake in some cases, especially at the higher stakes, which is why, I'm always giving my feedback based on my experience. And I really like, that motto. I've actually been very surprised that they haven't got a huge raise from a company. I know that I worked with, it's called Drive by DraftKings, and they did a lot of diligence on the project, and they're a 60 million hedge fund funded by DraftKings, which I've always thought was the most natural partnership. DraftKings has a horse thing, and I'm really kind of proud of the team for not really just taking any partnership. Like, it would be really easy to take a Web3 casino type partnership, which could help, but I don't think long-term branding wise, it kind of makes sense. Especially I would wait for a DraftKings, a Twin Spires, or, something like that. I think in the next few months, they're going to install simulcast. They've already got a Roku app. And so any bar owners will be able to set up the simulcast and have the races on in their bar, and you can bet on it on the Solana blockchain. So I think that'll be a big shift into, the way live horse racing works, at least from my understanding, is that the bettors are kind of incentivizing and paying for the purses. And so that's obviously their goal. And, I think that it's kind of interesting. One of my mentors I talk to a lot, I don't know if you know him actually, Joe Versace. He was PokerStars marketing director. And Joe always tells me that, like, sometimes it's worse to actually have a working product. Like, people will invest and do all this stuff on an idea. Whereas you see Photo Finish, I mean, we've ran like 40 million in entry fees. There's still 50, 60K in entry fees a day. So you're thinking about 300-400 in rake a month. And you compare that to projects out here that just have an idea that have no actual revenue. And you wonder, like, why it isn't just taking off, like, am I early, or is this thing just not really going to take off? But yeah. I think, any type of project like that, I remember DraftKings and their first tournaments were 100K, and now I play Monday, Thursday, Sunday showdown slates that are just for a single game, 1.5 million, 2 million prize pools. So I'm really bullish and still feel like we're going to get there. And I think naturally, a lot of the people that came in and were getting that free roll money, it's kind of like stimulus in America, right? Like, when you give all the stimulus, you're going to pay some inflation costs and stuff like that. And so that's one of the things that I look forward to this year, is really just that, and the app, and being able to, in your app, make bets, I think is pretty huge. It's pretty cool because you can deposit with a credit card, which I always thought was really huge. A lot of people in Web3 aren't necessarily horse racing fans, but a lot of people with money who are horse racing fans don't necessarily know Web3 or how to work a Solana wallet.
That makes perfect sense. As we see Juan Pardo Dominguez, who actually had the best hand, or they were chopping, I'm sorry, because it was a straight on board, but he did bluff there and made a nice bluff and picked it up. So good observation, good awareness. That is, and I got the $50 first. I forgot we are four-handed. There you go. $50 GG Poker ticket. Keyword is GGWSOP space Sowers space insert your GG Poker username, and that is going to be your first $50 ticket giveaway. We'll let those go. You must hit the thumbs up, must be subscribed, and then again, the Twitter post is also live and roll in there. So you got two tickets, two things of going, and then we'll get the $100 once we get down to three-handed here. So there we go.
And that previous pot bet when checked to is like mandatory, because at worst you're thinking you probably chop. I mean, sometimes the nuts will check raise you there, but sometimes you might get hero called as well. But you're pretty much free rolling a lot of times on just betting the chop off the pot.
Yeah, this is Jack 5 versus King 9. King 9 top pair. Jack does have a valuable heart here.
Yeah, I like that.
Putting pressure on.
Yeah, I think we don't really have, I think we have to take the bet line. It's just not going to work out unless we get the heart.
Yeah, and King 9 though does turn that. Certainly not going anywhere, although it's scary. And hello, man, just this guy, is it his day again? Juan Pardo, just sort of everything working, semi-bluffing, getting there. bluffing, winning, taking people off chops, making.
This guy's hidden mob picture is so fun too. It's just him holding the Poker Stars trophy over his head. He looks like he's just having a blast. Obviously from Spain, and some of the best poker world or players in the world are from Spain, you know? I mean, they've definitely got a nice, I love the Spain spots too. Madrid and Barcelona are probably two of my all-time favorite spots to go play poker. Like Barcelona is just one of my favorite cities in the world in general.
For sure. Who do you like right now? Four-handed. What do you put the odds on who wins?
Well,
Juan,
I think Juan, yeah, he's got the chips, he's got the experience, he's got the most winnings of anyone left. I think it was Alex who had slightly more. So yeah, I definitely like him, and also I just feel like he's played very, very well. Like he really hasn't gotten himself into too many spots. Obviously, getting very fortunate to have the aces to kings kind of propels you, but it seems like obviously two hands back when he bet when check two mandatory, he understands all the spots that you got to take and stuff. So, oh, we might have another elimination here.
Oh yeah, Jack 10 suited gonna go into jacks. We did see Queen 10 suited run down queens. Andrew Wilson, great spot. Jack 10 suited just looks a little more dangerous than it should be. It's got straights, flushes, but jacks not the hand to be against. Yeah. Let's see if he can get a sweat. And there is not much. Needs running straight. That'll do it. No possible way out there as we see a podium top three. Juan Pardo golf clap. Andrew Wilson picking up chips, and our start the day chip leader come to Brazil, and is everyone guaranteed 195 for the final three. That is a nice thing. No deal making available if those are at home watching. Want to welcome everyone in the world. We have a very international group. We're going to end with an international final three: Canada, UK, and a flag where I actually wanted to say, was that Romania? No, it's not Romania. It's what is his flag? He's from Spain, but that's not. He's repping.
Is that Belarus?
No, it's not Belarus. Any flag experts out there? I want to say it's
Ecuador.
It's a European Romanian. Is it Ecuador though? No, Ecuador. I think that's
it would be really.
No, I think that's maybe the same one. Andorra. That makes Andorra Moldova. I think it is Andorra. I think that's right.
Is that probably like a tax haven type country, or?
Yeah, sort of how the Germans are Austria that play here. I think maybe he's living over there, but I'm not sure on that. We're not going to call that. We got the giveaway rolling, and we got some noise, some mic stuff. Sorry if there's been any mic issues. I'm not sure what's going on. Might even be on my end, which is crazy. As we see Queen 10 and 8-6. This time Queen 10 has a lock on this hand, although Juan may be just done here. Doesn't have much to do with it. Is Moldova getting confirmation over there, and we are going to pick a winner here for that 50 and then queue up the 100 in a sec. This is too close to call right now. I mean, you have to lean on Juan, right? You got to give him the nudge, but still 6-5-4 in the millions of chips. We got 41 blinds, 57 and 65, so pretty close. And it is Moldova flag being confirmed. I just had someone messaged me that as well that I'm gonna take for sure, but I thought so. I thought that.
I googled it. It looks like it.
Yeah, there's a few random flag calls out there. All right, who do we got? Type in the chat. Who do you like? Who's gonna win it? We are gonna play to a winner today. This is no deal making. You can see the payouts there as we are three-handed. Been impressed with the play. Don't think we'll see many mistakes here. See who wants to go for it. How the cards run out, and it is. Again, we're seeing some. It's Moldova, I'm being told. Although,
yeah, I did see there was an A. Whenever I looked up the flag map, it looked like A. I guess Andorra is very close. They look so close.
Yeah, Romania is the same exact flag without the emblem, which is why I thought I was thinking that. And Pavel Plusev also has similar. So we're going to see who can win today. Who gets it's just so nice. Like winning. How many times in poker you have a big score and you're happy, but you just don't actually get that win. And it's just so nice to actually
almost always. I've had 6 WSOP final tables. I still haven't won a bracelet. I've lost heads up twice. I got a 3rd in a WPT. I got a 4th in an EPT. And so, yeah, it's really tough to get that freaking trophy, man.
Yes, it is. Not easy to win. It's not easy to win. You basically go to work as a tournament player losing for a living because it's rarely rare you actually get to go home and take a title. But a lot of days you do feel good, or final table's nice. There's definitely inflection points to min cash to
Top three, you
final
feel
table,
great.
top
Top
three.
three, you're
Yeah.
really
Heads up, something bittersweet about it, but you just don't know. Was it you or was it the cards? Because there's not anywhere else to look at. There's no interlopers.
Especially live, you don't know. Like online, you can go back and kind of piece together stuff, but live, unless it's telecast, it's really tough to know. Did you get bluffed on that big pot? Did they have it? I remember going back and looking at me versus Bonomo heads up and just being like, man, he just ran over me. Like, even though I had to fold aces heads up and stuff, I just felt like he was so much more experienced in the heads up realm, especially like with his background and everything, that when I went back and watched it, I definitely learned a lot. And he was ahead of his time because he would 3-bet hands like Jack 3 off and stuff versus my button raises and get through, which, heads up, you got to definitely 3-bet and get a lot more aggressive.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't need to do is bluff in the top full house here on the king 9 and ace 5. Maybe a little showdown value could save
might try
him.
that block bet now that he has the 5. Probably bet like 600, save himself.
All right, he's just going to check. And king 9 got to feel
smart.
pretty sweet about this. This is a huge moment for him, and wondering if he's going to get called. Using some of that valuable clock there, 26 seconds on the chess clock.
He's about out. He's got to
he's
just
running
ship
low.
it, right? I mean, if you get called, get the check raise. Wow, he's definitely going to get that called, right?
Goes for a more
Andrew.
secure.
Is Andrew out of time too? It looked like I saw zeros on his clock.
I'm looking at it zeros too. I thought he had a minute left.
Wow.
And
yeah, I mean, I guess you can beat flush draws. Would they bet a quarter pot with the flush draw as opposed to going for it? Who knows?
Yep.
These two have battled the most, though. They've played the most pots against each other and definitely kind of effed around with each other the most as well.
Got a shout out my man watching over in the UK, Ben Eggington. Also, my guy Dave D'Alessandro, Alexander as well. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying. This is going to be played to a winner, and this is a nice flop with the ace king versus 10 jack. Kind of sneaky double gutter. 9 or a king makes a straight. Ace king has the ace of spades, and come to Brazil, find some momentum. And this is now Andrew with Jack 10. I mean, he's got to like the board for the draw. It's sneaky. He's going to call. Doesn't get it on the turn. 2 flush draws available. $1 million in the pot.
It's always so awkward here with the double gutter on the turn, out of position. I mean, most of the time we just have to fold to a big bet.
Yeah, well, now this is not a great card either, because all of a sudden the club or a spade doesn't make you the nut straight if you hit that too. So it's just sort of too much going against you as one part of watching the other two tango. $50 ticket gonna pick right now. We'll have a $100 ticket as well. And
there's a lot at play here. These guys are pretty deep. 30 and 260 blind stacks. It's a lot deeper than a lot of times when you'll be 3-handed. I mean, that's really just goes to show GGPoker and how much play they give you at a final table. Do they, when you get heads up, it's less than 20, right? Per round? Or does it stay at 20?
I think it stays at 20. I mean, it goes pretty fast because it's just, every hand kind of.
Yeah, so this guy's 3 seconds. The other guy's out of clock, and one still has plenty of time. So that's also just another little feather in his cap. Straight board.
We are seeing some high-level poker here. Your guy, Patrick Kieran, in the chat as well. Haven't heard that name in a while. Says Sowers is a legend. He's in there. Some familiar faces. Appreciate everyone watching. We are going to pick that $50. How about those gifts? You got it. It is true. It's time. It is time to announce the 50. We'll get the 100 queued up here. And they are on. This is actually going to be a double shot clock, no shot clock, which is pretty unique. That is going to be the case. Come to Brazil on his last seconds there. Again, you're not eliminated. Just means you have that amount of time per street, which is definitely, I'm sure Juan is aware of, as they are fairly deep. That can be in his favor as a 3 would make him a straight. Queen 9 in the lead. Did he just fold?
Yeah.
Wow.
He didn't have a pair.
Snap folded. Interesting.
Yeah, that was probably going to be one of those 3-barrel hands. Like, whenever you don't have a pair, those are like the best flops you look for, where you have the open-ended, you have backdoor flush draws. You kind of can represent the ace, so you think you're going to win that pot a lot once you see that flop. Probably should get a 3-bet here. I don't really like call. I think 3-bet's pretty standard here. He's going to get it back in his face, though.
Come to Brazil with 10s. Could he
Yeah.
flat here or just too strong, right? I mean, 3-handed.
Probably, yeah.
All that. Just wondering if you ever want to, I guess, yeah, too cute.
I like 2 mil or all in. I think all in just plays very straightforward. You just grab the chip lead too, so you don't have to worry about post flop. Getting the chip lead in a spot like that is really important because you get to put pressure on the guy in second a lot more, and that could net you a lot of chips in the 20, 30 hands per level or whatever that you're gonna have.
Yeah, 3-handed play gets exciting. This is a ace king a7. Let's see if Juan Dominguez can get away on.
Hopefully he doesn't go
here.
for the limp re-raise. It's definitely a candidate. We don't play that great out of position, but most people are just gonna call and hello.
Hello.
All right, we need that turn spade, I guess. I mean, the limp call range a lot of times is Broadway type hands, suited connector type hands. Obviously, there's going to be some random aces and kings in there.
And he decides just call, not raise. Makes sense.
Andrew.
Ace king suited. And he is not going to get that turn spade draw. He's going to keep betting though.
Yeah.
Maybe intention to check back river here against.
Yeah, trying to buy a river
twice.
check.
Yep.
That's weird though. I almost would rather just check back and let 10-jack bluff or something. I guess 10-jack might have check raised the flop, but I doubt it. And that's really one of the hands that you're protecting against if you make this bet. But it's easy to think I have ace king suited. I probably have the best hand. I don't know really what his limp call range is. Could be queen 10 as well, which should be another hand you want.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I can't blame him for calling either. He doesn't have an 8, a 10, a jack, a diamond in his hand. So he bets, gets raised. And now one of the, I guess, a bit of a scary card for Juan, although still so high up in his range. And if you're Andrew, I mean, if you thought you were good, you're going to not likely think you're good now. All the things you were thinking about, you don't beat any of them. So
wow. Well, he's gonna quickly check, right? Even 10-jack beats, which is one of the bluff candidates.
So he thinks he got, but he actually maybe got saved.
Yeah. Still tilting because you're like, I have ace king, they have a7, they get there, I don't, blah blah blah. Yeah. This is really like what sets apart champions too, just blocking that out quickly, don't getting lost in that thought of mind, thinking about the next hand. Like a lot of times when I get in that exact spot and I feel frustrated or whatever, I immediately try to take some deep breaths, right? Like one of the things I've found over my career is to come back to the present moment. If you're breathing, it's really tough not to be present. And so the power of the breath, I think live, whether you're online, live, anything, I think is really important to overcome any of these mental hazards that can start to occur in the middle of a tournament, poker. I mean, you could apply that to pretty much anything in your life.
For sure. Give you guys a couple more minutes here to hit that thumbs up, be subscribed, and we will announce the $50 ticket and then put the 100 out in a second. We'll at least get to 100 thumbs up. Appreciate everyone being here today on the New Year's Eve, at least East Coast time, New Year's Eve.
We might Europe see a check raise close here. I could definitely understand it. Yeah.
And come to Brazil, start as chip leader, and is going to be in a very good spot here to be heads up with the chip lead.
Just flat and then let the guy jam the turn. It's usually pretty standard. You don't really want to jam and get rid of the flush draws. You kind of want them to bet into you on the turn.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, that's going to be the situation. He is going to need to fade a 7 and a 7 only. God is a man in a really tough spot here.
Wow.
And the river is a deuce. That'll do it. Heads up play.
Your guy versus my guy.
That's about fair for a nice dinner. Let's see how this plays out, but it is
All right.
pretty even. 9 million to 7 million. What are they playing for? 52, 59, about 70K. 1,000 heads up to end the GG Millions New Year here. We will see who gets it done. No deal making.
Maybe I'll take you out to Amaya. That's a project that the wifey's working on. It's another restaurant they're just opening. It's a Mexican restaurant at Cosmo. So that's going to be a really fine place. If any of you guys are in Las Vegas, check out Amaya, check out Durango Casino. And whenever you're out, you were already going to get taken to dinner for free. So, I mean,
Well,
even if
I'd love to take you out. I got a sheet somewhere with 100 and some dinner wagers, and I'm pretty much if you're ever on the show as a guest, you want to pick me off, you just tell me you won. Because, be honest, I don't know exactly. I like that. You spend a lot of time here. At least I could take you out, but we're gonna do have a wager on it. Let's see how this plays out, and we'll see how. What about the units? What did you bet on Come to Brazil? I think I bet a big bet on. I think I bet 50 on Juan, maybe.
Was he my last guy or no? My last guy got 30 because my first guy was 40, my second guy was 30, and I think he was the last. Or no, I don't know. I don't remember. You have it jotted down somewhere?
Yeah, I have it. Well, I believe you took him
Second. Either way, it'd be 30 because I put the big bet on the guy that was second to last because it was 11 to 1. So
Did Juan just flat him with 10-3 of clubs? Oh, he had the gut shot. Okay, with the okay, he flatted a bet there, but got it.
Yeah, sure did.
Right, first $50 winner is going to be Jason E. Woods. GG username Jawaka780. I will put that in the chat, and then we'll do the 100 in a second.
They're saying you get a lot of these dinners.
I'd say I think it's been pretty even. I don't know. I don't think I've cleaned up on them. I think it's been pretty even. You can see their stats. Pretty cool. If that is from Sunday, you can see their player stats. Pretty interesting. The 3-bet from Come to Brazil, much different than one part of Dominguez, but their showdown and their VPIP is similar. Juan's showing us a little snugger, maybe more tight aggressive, but either way, style gets it done.
Yeah, it's a good style these days. Kind of just let everyone kind of hang themselves. It's not kind of works. Both of them with only backdoor hopes, really. Pretty easy stab with the Jack-6 suited. There's so many turn cards we can bet big.
All right, the $100 ticket is GGWSOP space Happy New Year space insert your GGPoker username. That is for 100. Happy New Year to all. Best of luck in 2025, and we will see.
Nice check raise here by Come to Brazil.
Yeah.
9-2 spades. They only both had backdoor drops. And that just goes to show, like earlier I mentioned the backdoor draws, people will check raise from the big blind on like trips types boards. And that just goes to show the power of them. A lot of times you're going to take them down on the flop. Most times, if you don't get any added equity on the turn, you just check give up. And then if you do get the cards that add equity, you just barrel off betting big and put the person into a spot. And that's kind of what all the solvers have taught people how to do, and kind of just a good general strategy, even if you're not that advanced.
Yeah. I mean, heads up play too. It's tough, right? You get to play the chip stack semi-equal. It's like the advantage, what the actual differentiation is. It's not much, I think what what you're going to see in terms of skill and what is possible as we see. This is going to be pretty even. And at the moment, King 6, 4-7 basically.
That would be great. King 6 couldn't call if he just jams, right? He check raised, barreled off, right? Or barrel turn. Yeah, he gives up. Well, that's going to be a very good pot for Come to Brazil.
Yeah. That is
I feel like this is flown by. I guess 3 hours probably about average.
Yeah, I mean it's 145. It is actually a bit on the shorter side of play. So we've been 2 hours 15.
You're gonna watch some of these football games, American
Yeah.
football.
Yeah, I catch some highlights. I have it on the side, man. I'll tell you, I got the two little Rugrats running around. It's like not much. They got those new football things where they put it in like cartoons, right? You seen those? They do like
Yeah.
the games, like
Yeah.
not as much sports watching these days, but I do try to keep up with it. It's fun. I like it. I like the action and definitely playoff football.
South Carolina had a chance this year, just came up just short.
Yep. Yeah, they were
Basically needed Clemson to lose, right?
Yeah, that was pretty. That was kind of the playoffs interesting. I think there's the arguments about the 12 team and how it works, and now that the portal stuff, the NIL stuff's wild right now. And Belichick,
They're
going
about to
against
get a bunch more framework. I was listening to the president. One of my
Yeah.
buddies just actually got a job at Sacramento State. He wanted me to kind of do NIL representation with him. He wanted to start a company. He actually has trained like Aiden Hutchinson, Jigbo, like some really sick. I think his first guy was Packers Kenny something, but he coached JUCO with me, and I was listening to the president, and they're definitely going to have more framework, which I think is needed as far as like
Yeah,
just
I mean,
some contracts, stuff like that. I mean, it turning into 2-3 different free agency periods per year has got to be tough. But I'm really happy for the athletes, like for sure. Like I think these guys, especially in college football, have deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming, the positions are wild though. Exactly, there's like managers now. It's basically like an NFL team. It really is.
Wow, that's a nice turn. Well, he's going to get some back here. You can't really bet here if you're coming to Brazil, but you do have a very good bluff catcher. It'd be very tough to check fold after check through on the flop.
Yeah, this probably goes. I thought it'd go a little bigger, but as it turns out, he's still no way to fold that 5.
Yeah,
so hard
you
to make
might
a
could
pair.
find a fold on the river, but probably not. We would expect 6-7 to probably bet the flop. Ace deuce would probably bet the flop. So like the 3 shouldn't give our villain straights. And we can find hands like 7-8 and some other hands that should double barrel.
Yeah,
So
spades.
I guess
You don't have a
7-8
spade.
would bet the flop.
Yep. Gonna cue that $100 ticket, guys. Again, girls, everyone, remind you, please be subscribed. Please hit the thumbs up. $100 ticket coming your way to close out the year. Gonna announce that here in a second. 9 million to 7. It closed up a little. Come to Brazil was separating, but it is too close to call at the moment. Those Lions, yeah, man, Detroit looking
I love them.
pretty good. That's such a great game. I love that the last game of the season is so important, right? It's the Sunday night, I guess. Is it?
Can't
the last
recall. I don't know if it's ever happened where 2 14 teams are playing in the last week to win the division.
Well, no one in the division has ever.
Yeah, it'll be the last game because they're only going to have games Saturday and Sunday this week, just for competitive fair play advantage and stuff. But yeah, it was interesting. The Lions played their guys. I kind of dig it. Although if I was a coach, I would have sat everyone just because that's kind of my philosophy. But I definitely understand just keeping that momentum going, energy, momentum, whatever you want to call it, is really a real thing, whether it's poker, football, anything. So like maintaining that, especially that confidence, it's got to mean something, even if the game itself, win-loss, doesn't mean anything.
Yep. No, for sure. That's gonna be a but it's wild that they could be a 5 seed at 14-3.
And if Washington plays in LA, I might have to go to that game. I'm really excited about us. I'm sure these Brazilians and Spaniards are like, come on, man, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah. Well, this is.
What are your demographics? You get analytics on that and stuff? Like, can you see like how many percentages from each country and stuff like that?
Yeah. There's a detailed breakdown of all that, especially on YouTube.
Nice.
I think we got international, different watching on Twitch, YouTube, and different places. But I can share some stuff with you later. It's interesting. It is interesting. It's definitely noticeable where people watch from. But America, man, Americans are they're getting better at poker. They're tuned in. They're locked in. I think America loves their poker. I hope PLO. I love PLO. I play a lot of PLO. I hope I'm hoping there's gonna be a GGMillions PLO in the future. That'd be fun.
I'm sure there will be.
They've done it all. 4-card, 5-card,
It's so
6-card,
big. It's so
high-low.
good. I love the interface too. Like, I actually love everything about the site. I mean, the only thing I don't like is that it's not legal in my jurisdiction currently. So
Yeah.
I would definitely. I mean, I enjoy playing on Sundays too. Like, actually, I enjoy playing online more than live. Like, I do. Like we talked about the WSP grind stuff. I enjoy firing up 10 tables and really just.
I mean, there's back in the day, there's nothing better. You have now Red Zone and stuff like that. They didn't have that back when I was playing. What Red Zone came when it came, but imagine like you got your TVs on, you have a few tables going, you can just relax, eat, chill, have
like even live poker. I love playing when there's a game on. You know, anything to kind of distract you just enough because there are a lot of void. You know, some boredom can come in rather easily, and so to have like. I feel like I play better when there's stuff for me to watch, even like World Cup soccer, stuff like that. I love when that's on at the World Series.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. That is.
We actually went to the Euro Cup opener this year in Germany. That was great. They played Scotland. The Scot fans are insane. Like they have the best freaking chants, everything. The Germans are pretty boring. They're kind of like Americans when it comes to chants. They're like, we just went on the field. That's what we do.
Johnny Hunter in the chat says Red Zone is tight. It is. I love Red Zone. They do that for other sports and sort of like with golf and NHL and just
baseball. They have it now too.
Baseball makes sense. I actually suggested this. I'm gonna stay with it here as we see the 9-4 bluff. And look at this. Queen 8 is interested, but just gonna get through. I was saying because I love GGMillion. I'm immersed in it. I know the players at this point, the profiles, and I love the makeup of it all. I was saying I would love to see like a Sunday poker Red Zone show. Think about that. If you were watching like the biggest tournaments online, let's just stick with GG because they're by far the biggest. Let's say even GGMillion. If you were to take Sunday night and look at once the money closed, right? Let's say like you're down, the reg is closed, no more registration. There's 8-9 tables left. You play it down to the final table. You show the all-ins, and you kind of look at players. I think
you could do it like this.
I would watch
even the final 4 tables would be so exciting to watch.
You're watching the best players. You're watching.
That's a great idea, Jeff. Because honestly, you would learn way more too. You know, you have 4 tables. You'll always have some hand out of those 4 tables that are doing it. But you could also
even like with 8 or 9, it's fine. You could have like think about the NFL. They do 1 p.m. games. They got all the tables. Like like you're definitely gonna have action like at the 8 tables. Like at one point, you have the best players. You know, you might have Arthur and Juan and Ben CB at a table, and you can like just show that. And then when action comes, like I think that would be a great like 3-hour Sunday night kind of. And then you can even show what other tournaments are going on, like what happened, who won, what the prize pools are, if there's overlays. Like I would do that. If you anyone at home, you guys like that, let me know. I'm thinking about firing that up and trying to figure that out. I'll
join you when football season's over. But during football,
I could actually call in with people too, right? Yeah, during that, call in some different guests, maybe rotate through a little on the show. But just throwing it out there. I think that people, if you guys like that, I need to hear it because I'm really pushing that idea right now, and I think that could be really cool. Glad to hear. Some people in the chat are liking that. All right, time to announce the $100 last chance to get in. Follow along.
Get the money.
Get it. Who's gonna get it? I'm gonna put it right down because who knows? This could be over in a hand or 2 or 10 or 100. Jeff should tell them to quit. Not sure on that. You would watch it. All right, here we go. Ace 8, Ace Deuce. So Ace Deuce just gonna get out of the way. They're pretty even. Things are really even right now. Pretty even. Announcing the $50 winner on my Twitter as well for the retweet. We had some good guesses today. Throwback picture they found you there, Mike. What year was that? What year was that from? Like 07, 12 or something?
I think that was actually PCA 2011. So 14 years ago. I was like, I have hair there, so that's. I don't really have much hair left. You know, I keep a buzz cut.
Yeah, I said. But the picture, it looks like. So what you're talking about?
It was a cool picture, you know, it looked like I was focused, which I always try to be. Like, I think I was listening to Eckhart Tolle in my headphones there. I had a big audio book while I play guy. Like, I just love anything where I can learn. I feel like it keeps. I guess I have ADD or something because I just enjoy having, like, a lot of people are like, how do you listen to a book while you play poker? And I'm just like, I don't know how. I can't. Need something in my ear. Just like I said earlier, I feel like subconsciously I play way better when my conscious brain's kind of doing something.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
It's like when you're studying and stuff, I think that's the time to be conscious, but your brain knows what to do if you just let it kind of do its thing in the play. Like, you're probably going to make the mistakes when you let your brain get in the way, as far as, wow, it's going to be kind of a
Whoa.
tough fold to fold the king five.
Wow. So he calls the check raise, just thinking, I guess, he's got the king of spade working, thinks maybe his opponent's on some
Yeah.
wheel draw type stuff. And now it's going to come out leading and come to Brazil. How do you like that? Heads up with quads. You're rocking your boy Aziz as your avatar picture, who is
I honestly
fresh
would have
off
raised there
4.6.
because it's going to look more bluffy. Plus, the ace is just never going to fold. But I mean, I guess he's just trying to get some bluffs. This is actually a decent bluff candidate card, but yeah, he's just going to give up. Hopefully, he doesn't try to hero it off. It's like a flush wouldn't bet, probably. So, and then you block a flush. So, I mean,
Having a
the guy's
5 isn't
range
great,
is-
though, right?
Yeah. I mean, that should be some of the bluff range. But, I mean, I kind of hope your guy calls. I'm looking forward to the free dinner and get a little heroic here. Yeah.
It's out of the way. I started
Yeah,
getting
it's
too
tough to,
big.
I mean, yeah, you can't. We've definitely seen a lot of leading, though, in some unorthodox spots that, not necessarily always going to see.
Yeah, those stat lines you see on the fanned out on the right and left of the screen one, that is from GGMillion earnings. So come to Brazil again, has a little bit less experience, as you can see in that format. He does have 3 million GG winnings, and Juan's is 25 million on GG, which is
Yeah, and I think come to Brazil, I mean, overall he's played pretty good. I think the fours hand, he definitely compounded some errors there. Like, that's one of the reasons why I'm just folding to the pre-flop aggressor. Losing way more than should have on that type of hand. But he's rebounded back. He's definitely been aggro. He's taken most of the time the aggressive stance, which I always like. And the 6-5 hand, this will be interesting. It's like a 3-bet and a call. And now he's just betting a third. Oh, this guy's out of clock. One's down to 3 minutes, but that's a big edge heads up now. Obviously, he's probably the better player if we just go off winnings, but also having the time helps a lot too. Guess we check back usually.
Jack Queen, top pair, sixes.
Yeah, the check back range includes a lot of aces though, so I like another check, yeah. That was a quick check by one. Now we can safely bet Jack Queen, I think. Maybe even like a third, because probably shouldn't want to call a big bet. And most of the hands he have probably won't even have a 9. Because he would probably bet a 9 on the flop, maybe. Wow, he does get the hero call.
Yeah, I mean, again, heads up, so hard to make a pair. The things did miss, and now he is in the 2-1 position, 2-1 lead, roughly. Yeah, 2-1. This is This is nice board for one. Got a lot going there.
Yeah, and it's a decent 2-barrel candidate, but he's just gonna probably get raised here, I would guess. We feel pretty good about it. I don't like check raise more than check call, but maybe he'll just let him hang himself here. Now it's more of a call than a jam, but let's see what he does.
Wow.
Okay, chop it up.
Dramatic river.
Be interesting if he leads here. I guess not. But there's so many check backs usually in Come to Brazil's range that sometimes you do want to lead. He's so happy right now.
Wow. Both players thought they just absolutely
Yeah.
had gin in a bottle there. The 8-9 suited. A little bit of left could have had a different run out there. 2 10s, queen 3. What do you think about min raise versus limping? At what stage do you like to see some limps? How short big blinds?
I limp actually heads up some hands like 9-10 off, 8-9 off, some like king 6, queen 3 off type hands. So I actually, even kind of deep, 30-40 big blinds deep, I like to start incorporating some limps heads up. And then obviously you need to balance in some good hands to limp in with as well. It really just depends. I mean, if I have them covered, I'm probably limping less, and if they have me covered, I'm probably limping more, just because I'd like to not have the pressure put on me type stuff. But yeah, I think heads up, you need to be able to do it all, and you definitely got to do it all. I mean, it's a thing that if you only play tournament poker, your heads up game is probably your worst game. So that's probably where you need to spend the most work. Obviously, it comes into play so little, but when it does, it matters a lot. So it's important whenever first is 350 or 317. I guess here it's not a huge jump, but there'll be times where first will be like nearly double second. And so having a good heads up game is obviously pretty important.
Yeah, I think that's changed a bit where that the payouts are generally a little flatter. But yes, there is a huge amount. Even just now at the 6 million, then 4.6, 3.6, I believe, 2.8 was like the payouts for the big 25.
Yeah, I think that's important.
50
That's smart.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense for the sustainability of poker.
Yeah.
DraftKings even doing a lot of that now. Like they've gotten way better at their payouts. FanDuel is still pretty bad. They'll have like 100K to first, 15K to second and stuff, and it's just like you're already getting raked. It's tough to beat the rake already, and then if you have like a top 1 percentile lineup and get third for like not that many buy-ins, it's kind of brutal for the
Yeah. I mean, I get the whole blockbuster check and big payout, but like, yeah, at some point you got to kind of mix it around a bit. But yeah, this is 4737. So
Yeah.
4-7 has the best of it. Nice hand there. Come to Brazil, still 10-6 in terms of chips. 10 mil, 6 mil. You can see the blinds at 140. There you go. There's a limp king 3 off.
Yeah, these are hands that I like to do it with as well. Just you have a high card and a super low card, so if you get, I mean, just balance. It's like you're never going to call a re-raise. If you limp, you have to call the raise most of the time with your high card hands. There'll be some times where you can limp fold, but Come to Brazil, I feel like is definitely running really well heads up so far. I mean, just that 6-8 off seems like he's always getting the pair over pair. And getting pair over pair, even if you're like third or fourth pair heads up, it's just brutal because like you said earlier, it's really tough to make a hand, and there's so many times that people could be bluffing because you have to bluff to win hands. Heads up, you can't just wait to make a hand. And so that can be one of those frustrating things whenever you just have second pair and they have top pair the entire heads up match. That's like can be frustrating. And I mean, sometimes the cards play themselves. Feel pretty good about this one though. The ace-4 is in a tricky spot after checking back, but it's not many rivers that he's gonna like. Pretty much only beating a bluff. I guess you beat 4, 5, 7, 9, but even those candidates should probably barrel again.
Queen 5, weak, top pair does
Imagine
go for a value bet.
heroes this. Don't hero, buddy. I'm trying to get a dinner. Heroing is not going to put me in the dinner driver's seat. There we go.
Yeah, it's pretty even. These guys are, I mean, a lot. Again, the title, the money, and the prestige one is really asserted himself. Number 2 all time on the
They're
GG Million
overpaying.
ranking, looking to close out the year with a very strong. That'd be pretty strong actually. Artur, the number 1, Mortarizian won last week. He's number 1, and this is potentially Juan winning, who's number 2 on the list to close out 1 and 2 on the sort of like F1, right? At some point, the
Yeah.
elite, it's like the best guys are just that good. They are
Especially
that.
in the highest buy-ins where re-entry, that's going to happen even more, you know? I mean, F1 is so crazy though, because like if you just have the best car, you just win. It's wild. It's kind of like that's why the documentary is almost more fun than the actual races. There are a lot more races this year that were close between Max Verstappen and what's his name? He's the Renault driver. Or
Jack 10,
McLaren,
Jack.
I mean.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, like how they switch teams and how that works, and like how their contracts
They
are. I mean, I
get
guess
paid a lot.
yeah. Is Lewis Hamilton still one of the best
Yeah,
now?
he's moving to Ferrari.
Yes.
He's kind of had a down year, but I think he's still got the skills. I just think Mercedes kind of fell off. Red Bull took their mantle. McLaren and Red Bull seem like the top cars, but Red Bull kind of struggled towards the end of the season. So McLaren kind of had the best car to finish. But it changes every year. I mean, I think Lewis still has some good years in him. I mean, he's trying to get that 8 championship to kind of separate him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Schumacher's son is on there too, right? On one of the teams. He's
Yeah,
out there.
he's not doing so hot, but he's on one of the bad teams. It's kind of like if you're on one of these teams, you really have no hope to win.
Right.
Like it's kind of a pay to play type environment.
Yeah. All right. Well, not much big hands here. We did see Ace King suited before. Jack Deuce and 8-3. This is
All right,
again
pair
come
over
to
pair
Brazil
again.
looking for his first title. This is a nice spot when you get the top pair versus a lower pair. Checks back the weak top pair. Interesting. Can work out well, and then you can comfortably kind of start value betting. But interesting strategy. Does check again.
You just check the flop in the turn.
Yeah.
I I would have bet both streets very comfortably. Now what's he do?
Got a raise here, right? Pretty sure it's 560.
I mean, if you check both, but still, this guy blocks. Imagine this guy just jams. That would be great. Just maniacal blocker jam. Oh, check, check, and now he's raising. I mean, that does look so freaking weird. It's like, would he check the turn with 8-10 or 9s?
Does end up getting paid, so kind of a more different kind of way to play
Yeah.
the hand.
He might have got max value. Could have went bet, bet, and the guy fold the turn. Juan is probably really confused now.
And this is, I mean, come to Brazil still maintaining, but Juan just feels like he's never doesn't quite go away. They're getting some play, as it did take it was sort of to get to heads up didn't take as long, right? That's usually what happens. If it's either slower, then it goes faster. If it's faster, then it goes a little slower. So heads up, they do have some play here. Both players playing a strong brand today. Juan still with that 2 minutes 23 seconds on the shot clock, and come to Brazil having to rush. That's also a big difference on the length of the final table. If multiple players are using their 15-minute clocks or not, right?
Yeah.
Can be a big gap on the.
Which if you, I mean, I guess a normal one would be like 2 or 5 minutes. I mean, especially in tournaments like this, I'm really okay with it. And honestly, in all the GG final tables, I've never really found myself out of time that I can think of. So I think it's an adequate amount. What did he say?
You're tough. Is that what he said? Or
Looked like
Not sure.
something so tough. Oh, Lando. Yeah, these guys.
Ace 9 suited, Jack 7 again. The computer hand. I know you know that. You know what that is. You got all the ranking names.
No,
The,
I just
the- you just play. You don't know all the fancy jargon. The queen 7 off. I'm saying heads up. That's the dead even middling hand. The computer hand. They
oh
call it.
yeah.
That was from way back in the day. That is so again, ace 9 suited, pretty big premium. Jack 7 off, a little below. Got the equity though. And ace 9 is in there. Clubs turn, no one at the club. Jack 7 has a gut shot and a jack. And see if Juan
Pretty
starts
good double barrel candidate here. Representing the clubs, we have the gut shot, we have the jack, which we would think would be live, trying to maybe get a 9 or a 4 to fold, but he checks back.
And definitely, these are the spots where having no time bank is tricky to check or bet. And Jack 7, he did give his opponent a chance to bluff with the hand that might do that with one of the worst hands. And he does not.
Oh, he said heads up is so tough.
Heads up, yeah. A7 versus the Robbie. Robbie's been on here on the show
And this
before.
this is a 30-minute or an hour delay?
I think it's like 40-minute.
Okay.
And I do have the winner. I'm about to pick it. Heads up is the purest poker yet. Ace 7, Jack 4. And again, no pairs made. Ace 7 high.
Yeah, not enough to value bet. Maybe a bluff catcher candidate though.
Oh, I'm sorry, as the jack. I thought the ace high is
Yeah.
not good. So he does have the jack. No diamonds.
Really has to call. See what he comes with, as Nick would say. Well, fold. Yeah. Especially a guy that we've seen check down top pair, so we could definitely sense maybe he doesn't always bet the diamond and just checks it and then checks again and then feels very comfortable in the river with a mid diamond. Part of that heads up is adjusting to what you've seen, and you have such little information. 6-10, he's raised some of these spots before.
King 5, 6, 10. And a 5 on the river was already in the best hand. 6-10 coming to Brazil, has a heart. Does he want to take a shot at this? Has one of the worst hands. It definitely is a big disadvantage to have no time bank for sure.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to find his way to a call here. It's like a 7 probably doesn't bet this. We block the flush. I mean, a queen could bet this sizing, but I mean, a 7 maybe could thin value bet this sizing, but I would find it kind of unlikely. So I think this guy might end up with a call here at the King 5. Let's see. Wow, he folded.
Juan's been respecting some of the come to Brazil bets.
And come to Brazil is just kind of running over him right now. I mean, definitely bluffed him off some better hands. Which is, if you can do that heads up, I mean, that's a huge edge if you can bluff them off a better hand. All right, Juan, what do we do?
Queen
here?
4, King 6, King 6 in comfortable. This is important. These pots are all important, but it's getting that point where there's a big gap here. 11.4 to 3 mil. The river King 6 still with the best hands.
And come to Brazil has been barreling big. Like his flop sizes are like 3/4 pot. He's like there, I think he bet 500 into 700. Which isn't really standard. You know, most of our standard C bets, especially on drive flops like this, are quarter, a third. But if we think that one has the skill advantage, I kind of like that. If you aren't probably the better player, just try to make every pot big, kind of like increase the variance and put the pressure on them. Seems like that's part of what he's doing here.
One, another spot going to be most likely just taking this down. Nothing hasn't seen. We've seen some very quick heads ups. We've seen some very long ones. This has been now for not too long, but it's been going. We've seen a couple ones that have taken one hand, two hands. This is deeper to start today. 8160K, still what, 30 bigs for our short stack. So plenty to play with. One also very comfortable playing. I think he's also looking not necessarily to make it a high variance, although again, Come to Brazil is by no means.
One is definitely taking a meticulous, let's be right, let's limit the variance type of style, which is probably what he should do.
Yeah, I'm going to announce the winner. I think here we got hit the number I said. So let me announce that again. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes, this is a nice close to the year. Some high level poker. And I'm going to announce Cruzavan is the winner.
Oh man, he's
got
got
$400 ticket. Congrats to you, my man. Pair. You have got a $100 ticket coming your way, and we are seeing another battle for a first-time winner or a five-time winner here.
It feels like we're going to get the first-time winner, just the feels of it all.
It does. Wow. I mean, again,
one great fold. I would be very tempted to call another.
Ooh, the Rockets.
See, this is yeah. With the club to pretty much dream flop, thinking 3 streets. How do we get it all? So probably size up pretty big on the turn just to try to. Could even full pot here. $1 million. It's pretty good if he calls. Yeah, he's got perfect pot size river jam. It's good sizing. Whenever we have hands like,
wow, is that it? I mean,
let's say how good Juan is.
I mean, there's no way he doesn't bet this up. He has sort of the nuts, right, on this board other than a 6. I mean, it's
you're
like
just hoping. I mean, you would expect a 10 would call and a 6 would fold the turn too. So.
Oh wow. There it is.
There's my free dinner.
Come to Brazil came as the chip leader. He ended as the chip leader. His first win comes on the last day of 2024, rocking our next week's guest as the picture. Pretty epic there. That will be Marcelo Aziz coming on, who just took down 4.6 million for second place in Bahamas off a grand total of $0 entry. So what a fitting way to end the year, and a great performance there from Come to Brazil, man. Love the name, love the energy, love the play. And we did give away the ticket winners. You can look at the 4.12. He was a chip leader, so that was not the highest payout. Chalk wise, Juan Pardo started in, I think, 6, so he did ladder up. Andrew Wilson was second, finished third, and there's a kind of rundown of everyone today. A little more even between the big blinds. It wasn't such a big gap, and you can see the payout odds to win were there. Mike, tell me some takeaways, some closing thoughts, ending the year 2024. Big thank you to everyone watching out there. Happy New Year to you. Please tune in next week. Tuesday, we'll have Aziz on to start the new year. And Mike, give me your thoughts as your first-time guest on GG Millions.
I just think, I mean, that guy is an exact masterclass of what you want to do, you know, is pure aggression, check raise, making your opponent fold better hands. When you're doing things like that, that's how you're going to win. Obviously, you know, getting some setups and then obviously hitting the trips is going to help as well. But he just kept his foot on the gas and he kind of played with reckless abandon, and you can kind of see you run well enough, that can definitely work and just ice the whole table. I mean, Juan, definitely looking back, probably could have hero called a few more hands, but when you're getting beat like that and you're getting coolered when you do have a hand, you just pretty much start to second guess everything, and that's kind of what looked like happened heads up. And then obviously he's setting up perfect with that aces hand to double up, and just got unlucky, goes home, gets second.
For sure. Epic stuff. We saw, again, we saw big bluffs, big calls, and we saw the biggest names, brightest stars, and up-and-coming players as well. We got a legend of the game, Mike Sowers, who joined us today. We appreciate that time. You can give him a follow on Twitter. In particular, of course, the socials. We always appreciate you guys engaging, following along, hitting that thumbs up, subscribing. It's been an amazing 2024. We have big changes, some big news as well for 2025, and that will include you with some very special giveaways and some special engagement coming up. So I'm excited to announce that and talk with you start of the new year. And again, next week we'll have an amazing show. We'll see you same time, same place. GG Millions. That's a wrap for 2024. We'll see you next week, 2025. Peace. And Mike, thank you for the time. Appreciate you very much, man. Happy New Year.
All right, peace out. Later.